Happy Mario Day, everyone!
The whole time I never noticed that until now.
I wasn't wearing it until I hit the theme song.
I was like,
that's when I quick changed.
Geez.
Yeah, y'all weren't expecting that. Just out here celebrating some Mario Day. So hello and welcome to. I literally just wore this just for the opening bit. All right. Nah, it's too hot for all that. Nah.
Is
okay.
Mario Toku?
The original Mario movie would be.
Yeah.
It would be. It would count. I would say it does indeed count. All right. Hello and welcome to tonight's TokuTonic Shit. I'm your host, Zio Agito. Joining me once again, missing out from last week, but here this week is a nerd named Mark.
I'm here. One eardrum and all. I am here.
You made it.
Yep.
Surviving a definitely very, very long island iced tea last night. The Oxy 360. Yep. How are you?
What up, everyone? How's it going?
And then new seat filler. We've got Nexus, who had a VTuber avatar, but sadly it blew up during the pre-stream. And the entire laptop almost shot into space. We will see it later, but in the meantime, they're here via voice. Say something.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nexus, and I'm here gathered with you guys to talk about Toku. Very excited to be here, and I'm also very honored to be here as well. And I'll just talk a little bit about myself. So I got into Toku when I was in around primary, secondary school, but I'm actually a singer. So I'm a singer that does a lot of covers like K-pop, J-pop, and pop songs. But actually, I also do a lot of Toku covers as well. So my recent one was actually Geets Change My Future, and I really enjoyed that song as well. So yeah, hope you guys can support me, and I'm excited to talk about our topic today. So let's have a fun night. I'm ready. I'm excited.
Just don't cover Trust Last, or as we call it on the Discord server, Trust Ass.
Listen. I'd rather cover the short version rather than the full version.
You could cover Elements and Blade Brave.
Oh,
just saying.
Yeah, I could.
Two of the best OPs ever.
I'll have to consider.
Elements is a great, very hard, edgy intro with that 2000s angst.
Yeah. I put a video on Twitter that I can't share on here because we'll get the claim and the strike real quick.
That's how it be sometimes. It's how it be sometimes. Actually, while on the subject, since we didn't really talk about it last week, but yeah, the full version of Trust Last did drop, the studio version. So we heard it in better quality. I do have to say that I really feel the way that a lot of these themes are going is that they do the regular TV size cut first and have no idea about what the second verse is going to be until after the fact, because there's that hard transition between the minute 30-second to the next part. And it's okay, the first rap is kind of all right, but then the second rap hits and I'm just ooh, this melody just don't flow with the rest of this. And then the lead singer trying to harmonize with the chorus at the end. And I'm no, just please put it out of its misery. It's all right.
Like a mashup. It seemed like a mashup of two different songs.
Yeah.
And I'm just like the second rap or after the second half of the song, I'm like, this rapping is not needed.
It's a rap that's supposed to be a bridge to connect the song together, but it's not a good bridge. They needed to change some of the notes or not even make it a rap and make it like a singing verse for the female vocalist. But yeah, it wasn't what I expected.
Yeah, Ash, what did you think on the intro? Have you heard it?
Yeah, I've heard it. It's okay. I like the short version, not a fan of the long version.
Yeah, even listening to it multiple times, I'm still this ain't it. This is not it. So
I don't know. Once. I don't know how you listen to it multiple times. I listened to it one time and I was like, you know what? I'm good.
I had to see if it would grow on me. Sometimes, you play them time after time, they grow on you, and it just hits all right. I would say, for as much as I love the Don Bros opening, when the full version came out and they transitioned into the second part of that intro, I was like, woo, that's a hard cut you guys just did there. Where they're like, and I'm like, whoa, okay. All right. It took me a while to get used to it. Now I'm used to it. But yeah, it still hasn't clicked for me when it comes to Trust Last. But outside of that, of course, we've also gotten the KingOhger theme song, which of course didn't play during the first episode. We did hear it during the Meg fight at the end, but you can find a TV size version out on the web already. Some people have already even subbed it. So you can find just the audio for it. Of course, the actual opening, we won't see that until likely this upcoming weekend. But otherwise, you can hear the music in itself. And I would say it's all right. It has a little dip in the very beginning during the vocals that I'm still like, it kind of takes me out a little bit and then picks right back up. But I really just imagine some surfer guy hitting the waves, like that 90s like footage of a surfer just riding the waves while that music is playing, and it's just like, yeah. So Mark, would you think if you heard the opening like by itself?
I only heard it during like the Mecca that I saw people tweeting about it, so I did listen to like very briefly on there. I don't hate it. It does sound very like chill, like being from Southern California. It's definitely got some of that chill, like SoCal, go to the beach vibes to it. I'm curious what the intro with the
visuals.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to, because every watch the first step, I'm like, wait, there's no opening, and I was like, they don't. Well, sometimes we don't get the opening in the first episode.
That's correct.
And
sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, well, I haven't seen enough Sentai to know, so.
All right, Nash, what'd you think about the KingOhger opening music?
It's a bop. Someone said like, if you didn't think this was a Sentai opening, it sounds like an anime opening, just with like the beat of the song, and it's very different. Because most Sentai songs are sort of talking about the team and their names and stuff like that. They barely mention that in this opening, looking at the translation. So it's a good song, but we'll see how it goes with the visuals. But I like it.
And Nexus, what did you think?
So actually, I saw a comment that was saying that I should cover it, and I'm actually in the middle of learning the song, and I realized that like the first verse and then the pre-chorus going up to the chorus, it's very fast, and there's like a lot of like lyrics for it, because the lyrics and also the translation has appeared on the Ranger Wiki, so I've been using that to help me learn, and it's just very long and rappy, but then it starts to slow the momentum down in the chorus and then picks it up right at the very end. So it's not that bad as an opening, but it's a bit inconsistent with the speed in the first part and then with the slow momentum in the chorus. So I don't mind it, but I'm gonna have to listen to it multiple times in order for it to grow up on me.
Bugs, get out. Roroni, get out. You out here, just out here hating on some Dom bros. Come on now. Nah. We ain't about that over here. Not about that slander. Nah, absolutely not. No, but of course, opinions are opinions when it comes to it. Some people are going to end up liking the intro more than other intros, and that's usually how it ends up going. So yeah, everybody has their favorite. Before the stream started, of course, we were talking about some other really good songs. Lou Pat's opening was really great. I still wish they would have done like the separate intros, one for the Lupin Rangers, one for the Pat Rangers, when they actually had the episodes with two of them. You know, you would get that payoff, but yeah, it's missed opportunity when it comes to that. I would say that I understand the sentiment of it sounding similar to, say, like an anime intro, but then again, it's like, I feel like KingOhger in general has a vibe similar to a writer show, and most writer theme songs more recently than not have felt more like anime intros than a conventional like Toku intro in that sense.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see how it pairs up with the visuals.
KingOhger is also the live action version of Attack on Titan, so
I mean, it borrows so many elements in terms of other stuff. Look, Crazy Orb, look, KingOhger's opening is amazing, but I still hate that show. So no, you can't change my mind. You can't change my mind on that. Looking at the poll, because I did ask before the stream started on what people thought in regard to the KingOhger opening, we've got 70% at slaps, 25% at mid, and just at 4%. So clearly a lot of people are enjoying the KingOhger theme song. So that's a good thing in terms of that aspect. So let's move on to actually no, real quick. Mark, I didn't get your feelings. You've been binging a lot of Down Bros. And of course you weren't on last week's stream. So did you finish it? What part did you leave?
I have like 4 or 5. I think I'm on 45. I haven't watched anything this week. So because last week was crazy because even though I watched the first like 6 episodes, I went back and started with episode 1, and that was like Sunday or Monday. But by the time Thursday came around, I was like 37 episodes in, and then I saw this movie called Cocaine Bear. And then I kept watching Don Brothers over the weekend. So a whole week just revolved around this batshit crazy Sentai, and then this batshit crazy movie about a cocaine bear. And then I started questioning reality. And I don't honestly like, if I had to rank it right now, I haven't finished Don Brothers. I got 4 or 5 episodes left. I'm already at top of my list out of the 7 I finished, because I did finally finish Lupat, which I thought was really good. I know a lot of people are divisive on that one. And I just started Die Ranger. I will say, Don Brothers, like, I don't know if it's because I haven't watched a lot of Sentai. It felt so unformulaic compared to other shows. So I was constantly like overly reading into things. But then when I just didn't read too much into it, I took it from entertainment value. I was like, this is a wild ride. Like, this is insane. And I'm going to try and finish it over this weekend. Because then obviously KingOhger and came out, and then to do Geats episode. So I kind of was like, all right, let me just put Don Brothers right here in the corner for a couple days. But it's one of those ones where it's like, I would tell people, like, if they haven't seen Sentai before, watch Don Brothers.
Yeah.
Because
it's a wild ride.
Yeah.
And honestly, like in some instances, you can just pick a random episode, hit play, and you don't need any real proper context.
That actually happened because I was watching it on my computer, and then I have it all on my my Fire tablet, because I have like all my Toku stuff on here, and I forgot what episode I left off on, and I clicked it, and I started episode like, I think it was like 34, but I was really only in like 31, and I was like, oh, and I was like, did I watch? This seems like I missed something, but when I went back and watched those 3 episodes, I was like, you miss a little bit of stuff, but like you can kind of just like miss an episode or 2, and it's still good.
Yeah. Obviously, it's very comfort food for the soul when it comes to a lot of things. When it comes,
it's rewatchable too. Like there's a lot of shows I can't rewatch. I could rewatch this show, like at the end of the year, next year. Like I could go back and revisit this. And there's only a few Toku shows that are in that category for me.
Now, side tangent on Cocaine Bear. Did you see the parody of Cocaine Bear? Cocaine Shark is currently in the works.
I'm mad because when I walked out of the theater, I made the joke to my wife. I was like, man, we need a cocaine universe. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, we're getting the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey universe now. I want the cocaine universe. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, cocaine shark, cocaine anaconda, cocaine ananda. I don't care what you call it. I was like, and
get Sam Jackson in that bitch.
Yeah, and then we'll have like cocaine on a plane, and we'll have, Tom Cruise on cocaine. Like, we'll just have
that's the precursor to all these. That's the origin film of it all.
It basically is, and I'm just like, I want all of these, like, just this cocaine universe. That's what I want.
Cocaine Man ends up being the true Toku hero that saves us all at the end. That's it.
Yeah,
you wish.
But no, Don Brothers and Cocaine. Like, I was just like, man, I can't deal with like another like out there show right now. I need a palate cleanse of just some grounded, like, nothing outlandish right now, because Don Brothers, that was it is like, even I showed my wife some of the stuff, and she's just like, I have no idea what's going on. And then she's like, she just walked by one time, she's like, just stop for like 45 seconds. She's like, and it was during the intro, the dancing of the set. She's like, it's so colorful and ridiculous. And I'm like, I know.
That's
so real quick,
the whole show.
So real quick side tangent. Of course, last week we had the great debate when it came to Red Velvet Cake. And I just want to gauge the panel's opinions on something that crossed my foresight earlier in this week. And that is Sunny D Vodka Seltzer.
Oh, God.
It's coming. It's coming. The great taste of artificial orange now with alcohol.
Dude.
I'll just already say that I don't drink alcohol, so I don't have a judgment to this. So, yeah, I don't have a judgment to this because I don't drink alcohol. I'm pretty dry.
I think I'm crazy enough to try a 12 pack.
Yeah. I've been sober for 7 years, and I'm also used to be a bartender. I can tell you right now, it's just gonna taste like a screwdriver. That's all it's gonna taste like.
But Sunny D doesn't taste like orange juice.
Yes, but when you mix it with alcohol, it's gonna have it. Trust me. Like just because it's in a seltzer kit, trust me. You think I haven't put Sunny D and vodka in a water bottle before I went to class when I was in college? That was my breakfast. It's Ash could agree. Come on, Mr. Long Island, you know. But no, it's just funny that you brought that up. You know who else has one coming out that just got released? 311 has their own drink called Come Original.
Wait, what?
The band 311, and I was like, out of all the songs you picked, you're gonna have your own drink called 311 Come Original.
That's it.
No Sunny D.
Ash, I don't even know if you even like it. Do they even have Sunny D down there?
No,
that
I
a
don't
thing?
think so. I
Okay,
don't think so.
great. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It
It's
made my
sugary
childhood.
tang. It's sugary tang.
No, even Tang has
Yeah.
more flavor than that. It's just orange water. That's all it is. It's thick, syrupy orange water.
Mm.
All right. So with the side tangents out of the way, let's get on to the actual topics now and move on to KingOhger. Okay, so last week we saw the debut of the first episode of KingOhger. Now, before getting into a lot of the nitty gritty when it comes into the show itself, I want to talk about the technology that they use for it, because really KingOhger really changed up the game from a Sentai perspective in terms of just the set design that they had on there, by relying on the large LED panel display with pre-rendered backgrounds for a lot of it. However, there were several scenes that were admittedly green screen as well. So that was that. And actually just showing off here, we can actually take a look at this Google translated blog post from Toei's site regarding the episode, in which we can see the use of green screen in several of the
Scroll
set
down a little
pieces.
more. Yellow.
Yep. So as we can see, like the sets for Ashibana, Tofu, Gokon were using the green screen effects. Meanwhile, there were some practical effects and minimal green screen usage used for Enkasopa. I'm gonna have a hard time trying to get that country's like.
I call it
name
Eiffel
on it.
65. That's what I call it.
No, so a lot of heavy green screen use, but in several of the sets, as shown down here, you can see where they actually ended up using that full LED display in the throne room, along with a better shot of Gira here, in which you can actually make out the ceiling portion of the set where the screen actually functionally ends. So overall, like, how did you guys feel about the implementation of this technology when used on set? And Ash, I'll start with you.
I think it's cool. I mean, even though I worked in film and stuff like that, like I studied it, like I've got a hard eye to notice stuff like that unless I really pay attention to it. But I think it looks cool. I think they're trying something new. I mean, there was a post that went viral on Reddit that caught on to this with like the new technology. But I think it's a cool little gimmick they're doing, or trick they're doing, and see what they do with it moving forward. But from what we see so far, I think it looks pretty good.
All right, Nexus, what did you think?
I wasn't excited at first because I always like the action and the fighting scenes. That's what makes Toku so different. But then after watching the first episode and how they not only had the green screen, but then they had the awesome mech fight, and then also balanced out the fighting scenes in the actual like real filming, and then with the CG, I actually like it, and it also fits with the fantasy theme of the whole entire show in general. So I'm actually excited for this new change compared to like when we had this new change for Dawn Brothers, and then now we have KingOhger. So I'm excited to see what they throw at us.
And Mark.
Well, I'm calling the show Mandalorian Sentai KingOhger. because that tech is nice. Graf brought it up, which I was going to bring up. The Northern Base and Saber, compared that CG and then the CG we got from Zenkaiser and Don Brothers, and now seeing this leap with KingOhger, and there are people who are saying, "Oh, it doesn't even look that good when you think." I'm like, no, from a Toku standard, this
Looks good.
This
It's
is
very
really
good.
good,
Yeah.
and it's one of the few times where this like learning about all the tech before the episode, and I usually do the whole I'll watch 4 episodes, see how but like after the first episode, I was like, everything looked, yeah, you could see where some of the screen ended this and that, and there were some hiccups in the show, but the everything about it for me, that's what like appealed the most. I was kind of forgetting to watch the subtitles, and I was looking at the scenery, and I was like, okay, what is practical effects? What is the LED cool screen? What is green screen? Like, so I had to rewatch the episode a few times because I was getting distracted. I think, and I made the joke, I was like, man, I don't know who needs to sell what IP, but I want this tech in Kamen Rider. I want Super Riot
Oh.
Productions to somehow be like, hey, let's do something with Ultraman. We're tired of fake plants and trees and buckets of dirt getting flown around. Like, let's get Ultraman some budget now, because this will become an industry standard at the earliest in the next 5 years.
Mm.
And
But
Toku
my
getting
only
it,
concern is really just the time constraints, because if KingOhger had more time to cook in the oven when it comes to like a lot of the background effects, it would probably look better than what we got in the first episode, because a lot of those backgrounds just they needed to render a bit longer. We had some flat textures, like some of the visuals looked a little. And the thing is, Sony was helping when it came to the production, when it comes to this. So you would think that they would have some baked assets or something that they could have like sold Toei for them to use. But
you think Toei would want that? No, Toei's gonna be like, make it for us. And I think
Yeah.
also what's going to
Really
help
bad.
them in the long run is the episodes where it's not so heavy, where they're at just one location.
Yeah.
So the other stuff can cook a little longer. But it's just like one of those things where it's like watching, like, because I can only compare it because of the tech, the Mandalorian. I'm not a big Star Wars guy anymore. I did enjoy that, but then seeing this, I'm like, the way they implemented some practical effects, I feel like they should implement more practical effects with it and not rely so heavily on it. But it is something that I think is revolutionary for Toku. And Sony tweeting about this stuff, and people who I know who don't watch Toku at all or even anime were asking me, hey, what's this like, and I'll say what they said, Japanese Power Ranger show that's using the same tech from Mandalorian. And I was like, oh dude, it's this KingOhger show. It's drops, like, it comes out this weekend. You should probably check it out. They're like, I mean, the tech intrigued them, and they went out of their way to look. And these are people who don't watch anything Toku, have no knowledge other than Godzilla. And they
I've
were
got a
even
friend who's
intrigued.
gonna check it out. Like, I said, I made a joke to him, saying, oh, you're gonna watch KingOhger with me? He's like, oh, what's KingOhger? And I think he looked it up, and he was like, oh, this sounds like Game of Thrones, but with kings, but Power Rangers, and he's definitely interested in checking it out. So it's getting around. He just needs to figure out how to watch it.
This is how Toku in the West can become a bigger thing, and that will open Toei's eyes. It's not, yes, buying Blu-rays, this and that, but it's like, you got run-of-the-mill people asking about it because of a tweet from Sony, because Sony's the one who tweeted out that they were helping them, showed the text, showed everything when it was still just green with nothing thrown on it. And I'm like, and the exosuit being built by a real company, like, I was like, all right,
one in the Zord.
Yeah, I was like, man, like, everything about this is visual, like, few issues here there, but it was very crisp and clean when you don't focus on it too much to nitpick it.
Yeah, so you actually touched on what I was going to get into next, which was that exoskeleton on there, because of course this was indeed already done by another company, and they're pretty much just using tech that already exists and just implementing it into the show itself, which is, once again, just a very neat endeavor. And I can pull this up right here so everyone can see the Skeletronic suits. So
they look
this is a real thing that you can essentially purchase for godly amounts of money.
Really quick, Zio, if I buy this, do I win the Toku DAP for like the decade?
I think you would.
Because
And then
I saw that and I was looking and I was like, I don't know what I would use it for. Other than trying to find a way to remote access those 1-to-1 scale Gundams in Japan and take over one. But I kind of
I've
want one.
actually seen this before because I watch a lot of Japanese variety shows, and there's one called Run for Money or Taozhou, and basically it's like a variety show where um like the participants has to like run around, and it's like a tag show for money. So the longer that you run and survive, the more money that you win. They actually use these as like one of their missions for the participant. So when I saw this, it gave me that variety show vibes, and I was like, whoa, that's actually really cool in a ways.
I also like how the names are like Mantis, Mosquito. It's
Right.
like they knew. They
knew
knew.
ahead of time.
Yeah,
Also,
then
Mr. Cool Guy, you don't know about my money. The only 3 people know that: my wife, me, and my accountant. Trust me. If I want one, I will get one.
we all gone halvies on it.
Yeah. I was like, listen, I have organs I'm not using I could sell.
Especially when they can custom make it to be whatever mech you want it to be for those exoskeletons. So I'm like, ooh, that
Dude,
sounds like something I definitely would not want to spend money on.
Speaking of
for that
what is
aspect.
I brought this up. What do you think the budget is for this show?
Ooh.
It's probably the most like Toei has dished out on a Sentai series in ages, because I feel like they've been cutting back in terms of budget for like since COVID happened, just to try and reduce on cost. But they're definitely blowing the budget completely open with this, which I'm really like hoping that this ends up being a runaway success for them, because the amount of money pouring into this, if they don't receive a return of investment when it comes to like toy sales or anything like that, then it's gonna be rough.
That's what I said. I was like, I don't know how from a toy standpoint, because I was just like, I don't know how they're gonna recruit this unless they got some deal where it's like, you know, Sony's gonna use most of the footage. It says like tech demos to like pitch, you know, that tech to other studios and companies. And then maybe I was just like, because they're gonna have to release the Memorial Ozier Saber like tomorrow to start making some money back. Because I know a lot of us aren't buying that DX caliber.
Nope.
Nope,
Way too
not at all.
short. Way too short.
And even when it comes to the mech, it's like a lot of people are excited for it, but I'm like, looking at this show, it did the opposite of Dom Brothers, where we didn't have a mech focus really until way later on, when they were like, because at first it was just like, oh, we're reusing Zenkaiger assets. Here's a new like and right on, and here we go, and sold. No one cared until Down Oni Taijin finally came out way later. This time they were like, oh no, we're gonna build the mech into the mythos of this show, make it the central pillar. It's not named after the kings, it's named after the mech. He is the King Ohger, and you're gonna buy all these auxiliary mechs with him.
All right. And the funny thing is,
saw an auxiliary mech like in episode 1, right at the end. They put a very small snippet of the auxiliary mech, so it gave us a little bit of information in a ways.
And from a marketing standpoint, even like the most recent magazine, usually the mecha is like the last page they show. 80% of this magazine, when they're talking about KingOhger, is just the mecha. They're really promoting and hyping up the mecha. I pre-ordered the DX one because I instantly loved the way it looked, and then they're like, "Oh, campaign item for the Dod Brothers mask thing for it." And I was like, "That's cool." And then I pre-ordered the mini plot because like I like this mecha. I like the little mini, like little, what are they? The little mini ones, the little Shogun god things that are on there. Those are cool because they actually function in the show as well. The spider one, shouts of web. Yeah, the shoe gods. I'll learn all the names of everything probably by episode 24.
Don't worry, I have a list here on my phone of all the names of stuffs.
Or you can just go to a certain
still
website
me
that puts
24
up pre-orders without pictures. So,
Whoops.
I'm not touching that. I've already got in trouble for making comments about that storefront over the last 2 years. I'm keeping my mouth shut.
So yeah, it's like when it comes to the mech, it still hasn't sold me yet in terms of the KingOhger. I will wait and see if it does win me over. I mean, I like what I saw within the context of the show. It's just from within the context of the toy. Like I've got big heap and mamma jamma over here, and that
Oh
thing's like
wow.
half the size of this guy. So yeah. Also, I did buy Tora Dragon Gin, so yeah.
I
New
want that.
expense. New expense.
I want that, but I'm just gonna stick with my little gold plated festival mini plop that's coming out in like the 4 months. I don't know why they're no, it's coming out in like 5 months. I don't know why they're releasing a mini plop for Donodi Taijin in like August.
Man, the poll right now is actually very split 50-50. I asked if the KingOhger DX is something people are looking to buy. Right now, it's 50-50, absolutely or pass. Ash, you looking to get this or not?
The mech or
The mech.
yeah, I already pre-ordered it. Which one have I pre-ordered? I pre-ordered the sort of first wave when it came out. So I've got the DX KingOhger and the God Kabuto with the God Sasori and the God Batter set. I believe that's the one I've got pre-ordered. I don't know if I'll get the snail and the rolling hammer just yet.
Yeah, I'm still in a wait and see. But so far, like the reviews have been good when it comes to them. I know one person on my Discord server that had already like gotten it earlier in the week couldn't stop gushing
Nice.
about it nonstop. Kept popping into VC to gush about it some more, and they're really enjoying. Almost sold me on it. Almost sold me on it, but I'm like, no, no, I will hold off. I am not going to press that button just yet. As good as you're selling this to me right now, but no.
I assumed you're waiting until like you hit the 5 or 6 episode mark to really judge the show, how you feel about it before you'll spend merch on it.
That, and I'm kind of wondering just how much they're gonna blow their load when it comes to introducing a new auxiliary mech every episode, because it really just seems at that point that it becomes a show that focuses a lot more on the central gimmicks and selling you these components than actually the show itself. So we'll see, because right now in terms of plot, they're really selling me in terms of the investment that we got going in there. So moving on to it, let's talk about the setting that we have for this show now that we know a little bit more about it. So, of course, we get the backstory that 2,000 years prior to the events of the series, the Bugnarak were driven underground by 5 heroes who ended up becoming kings and forming their own nations. But then, no one knows from where this came from. A prophecy came out that said that after 2,000 years, the Bugnarak would show back up, and it'll take the KingOhger to take it down, which takes us to the current present day. Of course, this is a planet called Earth, but it is not Earth in the way that we know it. It's a different Earth in general, which is not the first time we have something like this, but definitely one in which they're sticking with the theme of this is a whole different planetary setting type deal. Unless they end up dropping the gimmick, halfway through. We don't know, because some Sentai seasons tend to do that where they're like space based, and it's just like, oh yeah, let's go to Tokyo for the remainder of the season because budget. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. But we did get to see tidbits of each individual kingdom, with the main focus really being on Shogadan, as well as a little bit of Enkasopa that we will see more in episode 2. But in terms of the atmosphere, the world, of course, the world of Shogadam itself, its country reminds me of like very Celtic like Middle Ages type setting with some steampunk aesthetics thrown in there. Of course, you've got all the floating bugs going all around and things like that. Which overall, like, it's a pretty good set, but it definitely Shogadam in general gave me like Attack on Titans vibe in terms of like just a giant wallscape that it had. Of course, we had the giant Bugnarok show up and just tearing shit up. And I was just like, yeah, the mega structures and all that stuff. So Nexus, I believe you had something you wanted to say.
Not really, but I think like the setting is really nice, and I like how it shows like all the uh different values of the different kingdoms, and also we got like peeks of like the castle inside, so able to see the different characters in their castle, and then also their interaction with their butlers as well. I think that was a very nice touch and a very good introduction in a ways. But yeah, I also had the idea. It said that there was no one that remembers the source about the prophecy. I'm wondering if that's gonna be the final villain or something else to do with that, or if they're going to go on more about that. No one has actually know where this prophecy came from.
Yeah, they went out of their way to really emphasize that,
Mm.
and that could lead to some nice fan speculation. I have my own theories on that myself, but we'll get into it once we get into it. Ash, how did you feel about the setting of the world itself now that you've seen it in motion?
So from what we saw so far, I really enjoyed it. Shogodam, Attack on Titan vibes. Reader's Kingdom pretty much gave me vibes of the North from Game of Thrones with all the snow. I am hoping we get to see more of that kingdom and what that's about. But from what we saw so far, like visually, these kingdoms look great, and I'm hoping we get to explore all these worlds like moving forward. Like, I don't know. It looks like with episode 2, looks like we might bounce from kingdom to kingdom as we introduce our rangers. But I'm hoping that we get to like spend more time, like visit these kingdoms more than once, not be like a one and done after like the first couple of episodes. But from what we saw so far, I really enjoyed it. And the prophecy is the mystery, and I'm hoping we get to expand on that and see where that goes.
Mark, what did you think about the scenery?
I enjoyed it. I mean, obviously, beating a dead horse here, Attack on Titan for sure. The setting and like kind of like the introduction, how it showed like the little wall that was kind of painted, gave me like, you know, like a Fire Emblems type vibe to it. I enjoyed how each world was so different. Like I still like, was it Tofu, the Black Sentai's world? Like he's eating a rice ball. He's like, oh, look at this bountiful harvest, delicious food. I'm like, and his drip, just he's the drip
That's
god
great.
of the season. And like I kind of thought it was intriguing how in Shogun or whatever the red one is, I'll learn the name eventually, not really. Like that god Guguwada was like rusted to a pole, like a pipe in the middle, but you had all these little like Transformer GoBots just flying around, like basically moving everything. And then Blue's little kingdom was so tech heavy, and I was really excited with the preview that seems to be where Gira is going to be kind of escaping to possibly in the next episode, because I was like, out of all of them, that is the world that I was so curious about, like a tech. This is the guy who's like, hey, who do you think taught you and set up everything so you have electricity and power? It's me. I'm curious how advanced that setting is going to be, and that's really going to test the CG and visuals that they're going to produce. I do hope it's not a jumping from kingdom to kingdom every episode. Like episode 2, we're in 4, like 3 of them, and then episode 3, we're in like all of them. I hope maybe let it simmer, keep a couple episodes where you're just in one kingdom, and then also settings outside of the kingdoms, because they are on this 616. Obviously, they're not going to just stick to 6 kingdom, the 5 kingdoms. Obviously, 6 maybe down the road. And then with this Bugnarok coming from up underground, I'm like, well, you want to save on the budget, have some episodes where they have to go underground or something to see where the Bugnarok are coming from. But I like what we're getting presented so far. Each one feels so different, and they kind of, when you think about it, match the person. I was like, purple, it's like the wall and Game of Thrones, very quiet characters, not person a few words, and then it's like, oh, frigid and cold personality, their little areas frigid and cold. So
yeah, I was thinking more the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, like that, like Russian based location. It's been so long since I've seen Brotherhood.
The North, I think it was the North as well for there.
Like all the chains inside the castle and just that icy look.
Yeah. Every time Full Metal Alchemist gets brought up, I'm just like, Edward. And I'm like, no, not again.
Whoops.
It's going to haunt me for the rest of my life.
So the thing is, with this show, obviously we've gotten introduced to all 5 of the kings of their countries, but of course, the red Gira is not actually the king of Shogadam, but it's actually King Rakulis, or as I just referred to, King Dick. He's just a fucking dick.
He's an ass.
I saw that in your review, and then I was like, oh. And then I watched my review back, and I was like, Yeah, because I'm just like, douche, what a dick.
Absolutely.
Someone that I would want to punch him so badly.
You know,
And you know what? I'm all for it. Like I need like the Bugnarok. Honestly, this episode did not sell me in terms of like villains. They just seemed like a presence. Like I
Yeah.
attributed in my review to it being like Calamity Ganon and Breath of the Wild. They just like they're aware of the presence that's gonna show up, but then when they show up, it's just like, oh, it's just over here menacingly. Okay, cool. All right, but where's the real threat? King Radagast. Because
Mhm.
honestly, from the outset, he's just out here planting these seeds. Like from the beginning, when they're like, oh, yeah, like you think everything's going to go according to plan with, you know, having all the kings here and that you'll summon the KingOhger. And he's just like, I don't know. These guys kind of are set in their own ways, but we'll see how it goes. Like he already knew that something was going to pop off
Mhm.
during their meeting anyway.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me think that even like the prophecy itself might have been something that might have been spearheaded by either his lineage or something like that, just to excel him to the power that he's at now. Because he very much seemed very nonchalant when the Bugnarok attacked, because he sent the other kings to, you know, handle the business. And he was just like, I'm just going to chill on back and have my drink while you guys do that. And just, you know, sipping on gin and juice. It was a moment. It was definitely a moment they had on there. And like but before like diving too much into like some of the speculations that we may have like towards him, like what are your general thoughts when it comes to Radagast and just how he just came off, you know, like King Dick? And I'll start with you,
Mm.
Nexus.
Oh gosh, throwing it to me already. Um, at first, I thought he was a good person. That's the problem. I got backfired at thinking that he was a good person until that scene when Gira came and met Radagast, and then when I realized that he was actually a really annoying person, I was like, oh, this guy. Oh boy, this is gonna be a good trip. So, but I also wonder if there's any like descendants before Radagast became king, or has he always been king this whole entire time? So I
Are you talking
actually
about like in
read,
terms of ancestors?
yeah,
Obviously
in a
there would
way.
have been an ancestry
Yeah.
line, it
I
would
wish,
seem
I
so.
hope maybe they would like go into that as well, because I want to see why is Radagast's character like that. I want to see if there's like any development, or if there has been an incident that made Radagast become like this. Because he said that, oh, after the Bugner Rock has invaded, and it's all because of Blue because of Yama Gus
Yep.
not accepting the revival of God Kuwata, then he's going to go and invade and Cospa. So because of that, he's just wanting to have everything underneath his like flag,
Mm.
and just wants to be, because he said the people are the means, I am the nation. So I'm just very excited for this character. I hope he's not a one-time thing, and then he's like he dies or something, and then we don't see him again. I really want this character to go along, maybe even to like the 30s or the 40s. I don't want him to be dead.
Mark, what do you think when it comes to
Does-
Radagast?
All right, like we all know my personality type. I mean, yes, he's a dick, but I kind of like him. I think he's, you know, kind of like, that's kind of a cool guy. Like, you know, like he's no, he doesn't BS you. You know, he's like, yeah, he literally gave out his whole plate. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna blame Yanma, then I'm gonna go invade his country, his little country and his kingdom. Easy peasy. Then I'm gonna go over Tofu's. I'm gonna take all their rice. Then I'm gonna go over there and melt the ice. He's just like, listen. He's like, then they're all gonna be under my banner because he's.
Mm.
And I was like, you know what? I was like, that's ambition. Like I like that. I
Yeah.
like a character like this because we. It's kind of like the whole Ace from Geet situation where we had a main character who's like competent and not self-doubting at all right off the bat when the show starts. I was like, we got this guy who's an antagonist, but not the villain technically yet, possibly.
Mhm.
And I just like that he's just a dick. And I was like, yeah, we need more dicks in Toku. Like, he's probably just like, I come from a long line of dicks. He's like, dad was dick, granddaddy dick. Like, he's
I'm
just
the longest dick.
yeah,
There it is.
he's like, yeah, it's just like
I
he's so
yeah.
charming about it though, because there's something ruthless. Like and one thing I noticed in this show, not just from him, is body language and facial expressions from all of the characters. Gira, them, like all the act. I was like, and he really sold it. Like he's believable. It doesn't seem like what it was that's just acting tough because he's the king. Like you believe when he's saying the things and the way he like emotes himself. And I'm like, you know what? I like that. I was like, he's the love to hate type of antagonist.
Oh, absolutely.
And he has
Ash,
good chip too.
Ash, what are your
what-
thoughts?
What everyone else has said, but when this guy was like first revealed in the press conference, I was like, okay, if Gira isn't the original king, then either this guy is going to die in the first episode, or he's actually the bad guy. So he's got that shit-eating grin on his face, like during one of his press conference photos they used. But this guy, you love to hate him. Like, I like how he's got a plan and how he's like, well, I'm just going to invade their country and then do this and that and that. And I'm wondering if he is going to be sort of like the main antagonist of the show. And if we do see the Bugnarok, if he's going to work with them, or he'll become one or something like that. Maybe he is a Bugnarok the entire time and he's sort of like waiting for this prophecy to happen, because we don't know who the actual true leaders of the Bugnarok are. We just know the general and the other dude, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah, only those two are really
Yeah.
it. We haven't seen anything else when it comes to the Bugnarok, or if they're even going to introduce more like enemy
Villains,
generals
yeah.
down the line.
Is
Which-
there going
yeah,
to be a human general besides just them? And
Some people have already been asking me, like,
Yeah.
when's your Sononi going to show up for this? Where's your villain with take old biddies? And I'm just like, I don't know. You got to talk with Toei.
I mean, there
Yeah.
are Bagnarok. What if you get a Black Arachnia style from like Beast Wars just showing
boy. Boy. Don't get me hype.
Mm.
Watch it happens now.
Don't give me hope. Don't give me hope that I get a Black Arachnia themed villain. It's not gonna escape.
Aren't
It's not
you
gonna
kind
escape.
of getting something like that with like Shin Kamen Rider, with one of the villains?
Yeah, they changed
Kind of,
Wasp
sort
Woman
of.
to be what was it, Queen Bee is what they're
Queen
having
Bee, yeah.
there. So
Big Titty B.
we'll see.
But yeah, dude's an arsehole and you love to hate him. And I'm curious to see how episode 2 is going to pick up, because you see Gira in Yama's kingdom. So I get the feeling that the dude's going to stick around for a while and probably be an antagonist of the show.
Yeah, so my theory, once he said that he's gonna first start off by invading Enkasopa and then try and unite the entire thing. It's just like, okay, so currently it seems like Gira's probably gonna go to these other countries, recruit the other KingOhgers to be like by his side to go against the Bugnarok, because he at least has the KingOhger on his side, so he can use that as like bargaining chips. But my thing is, as he gathers up each king, wouldn't that leave each kingdom vulnerable to Rakulus's assault? Meaning, as let's say he goes ahead and recruits Yanma, and then he goes to say like Himeno or like Rita's country. Then while all that's going on, like we get to like the end of him gathering up all of the team, and then we find out that like 3 of the kingdoms have already fallen to him, and they just had no idea because they had gone to another country. I'm just like, that's how they can try and like set up a little bit of more assholeness that we're gonna get from Rakulus, while also try and like make the good guys kind of lose in a sense and be cornered in a way when they have like their own nation start turning against them in a sense. But that's just like my theory in terms of that, plus the fact that we've gotten views that we're going to get the O Kawagata Ohger, which is a silver repaint of the Kawagata Ohger. I do think that is going to be Rakulus trying to like summon the armor without the Ohger caliber, so it's just colorless in a sense. But he ends up becoming like an antagonistic ranger as opposed to being part of the team.
Yeah.
So that's my current theory in terms of how I feel like Rakulus's arc might end up going. But you guys may have something different. Does anyone have any theories that you might have in regards to Rakulus so far?
No, I try not to have any theories until there's like how I would comment or this that like at least a good handful of episodes in, because it's the first episode. It's
Yeah.
still like character introduction, so it's like I could have a theory about a character, but because it's only the first episode, it could just be thrown out the door, or it could be something very obvious for like a theory. So for me, I don't have any other than Ragley's like too convenient knowing having everyone there to start that like group the same day the invasion happens. That's the only thing I have any theories that something has to do with that. And because Ash brought up the Ragnarok, the leader, commander, or whatever, I love that design because reminds me of like the Emperor Belial from the Ultraman movies. And I was like, I love that design so much.
Anyone else might have some theories when it comes to Raculus or how you think this might end up playing out the next few sets of episodes?
I'm gonna have to wait. Like, I really just want to see how his character goes because now we know that he's a really annoying guy, and to be honest, he shouldn't even be a king. I don't even know why he's sitting on that throne, but we really need
Bloodline.
to see like where
Bloodline.
does it go.
He's probably just
But-
misunderstood, honestly.
But then also he could be related to the Ragnarok or has worked with them before. So he's going to collaborate with them. So we shall see where this goes. But as it's the first episode, I think what they have already given to us is very good. And I'm very excited to see what will happen in the future.
I do really feel that little seed plant regarding who foretold that prophecy and the king just heavily relying on that so much to assert power kind of teases at a possible cooperation behind the scenes in terms of the like just him teaming up when it comes to the Ragnarok. But it's just, these types of tropes that can happen from time to time when it comes to things. So when it came to this episode, obviously Raculus was definitely a major character that propelled this one over. I would say in terms of all the characters for this episode, the runaway ones for me outside of Raculus was definitely Gira and Yanma Gust because they kind of stole this episode. Every other king, they had their slight introduction, but it wasn't enough to fully gauge their proper personality or anything like that. So I know there were like some people when I like live streamed it on Sunday that were like, oh, it's not enough Rita. It's like, it's episode 1. Plus, it's like, it's usually episode 1's focus on red. Like, it's a miracle that they focused on red and blue because like Yanma definitely had that whole exchange with the king that I was just like, ooh, this is nice.
Yeah. We're getting like that leadership conflict already, episode 1.
Yep. We didn't even get to see tension. Like he didn't even mention the
which is a rarity when you actually have the full team there day one and one of them doesn't transform. That's not red. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So that in itself was indeed a moment, especially when you see that look of like slight defeat on Yanma's face at the end when he sees the KingOhger moving and it's not him that's piloting it. Like you just see that look on his face and it's just like, ugh, I get it. I get those feels. Like his actor's performance, Gira's actor's performance, especially when Raculus pulls off that whole line of like, turning your blade against the king will just make you a villain. And then he like has this whole like breakdown of a character. Like we missed out on a whole opening to give us 40 minutes of staring at this man's face. Just go through a crisis moment and then acceptance of being the villain. And that was like a top moment for me.
One of my favorite scenes.
What?
He reminds me of Kyria from X8. Like of how Kyria had to like lie to X8 but had to accept it even though he was telling the truth. I don't know why they gave me vibes of it, but it's very similar in a ways.
I mean, same production staff, sometimes some things carry over, so
no, but that's one of the things I brought up earlier about like the facial, like was it Yanma, like his facial, like when he was in his world with his introduction to his retainer comes in, he's like, I'm gonna go. He's like, I don't need you to go with me. He's like, yeah, but if I'm not with you, you're just gonna pick fights with everybody. And he was just kind of did that snarl look at it, and I'm like, that's the personality right there. You already know he's kind of like gonna be hot-headed or quick to start a conflict. And then it was further proven when he was speaking with the king, and he was like, I'm not good at why should you be in charge? Why should you command KingOhger? And then he just like, walks away. Same thing with like Yellow. We got little hints like, hey, it's time to go. We need to go. And she's like, I'm still putting my makeup on. Like, what's more important? Like, come on now. So it's like we got little nuggets of like the shallow side of their personalities, but not like the depth of their character. But it was still a good balance of introduction. Because I didn't want too much.
We got a little bit of Ran when the Kagone got injured in the middle part, because she definitely like said that she's not dead. We can like take care of these injuries. So you started seeing a little bit of that doctorly nature that they described in her character profile there. But I would say for like the other characters, we haven't really seen the deceitful side of Black yet. No. We did see just the cold exterior of Rita, but we haven't seen too much in terms of them yet. So it's waiting to see once we get to those character episodes. But I really feel that those two would end up being the last two that they end up like addressing when they go to the team, because I do feel that after we get Yanma, we're probably going to go to Rand's location, and then it'll probably end up being a toss-up. I honestly want God, I just remember the last part of his name is Dabowski, Black's name, just because it's so weird. Dabowski. That's a weird
Kaguragi.
Yeah, Kaguragi Dabowski.
Dabowski.
Yeah. But I just feel like his is the character that I want them to go into last, because I really feel that him being the oldest out of the Kings, minus Rakulis himself, might have had a bigger allegiance with Rakulis because he's been around the block longer. And that could end up being to like, I'm going to play these kids like type scenario that we just don't know yet, because we haven't seen that sneaky side yet. So yeah.
Definitely curious about how their personalities, like when they get fleshed out and get more on-screen time, because like it would be too easy for him to like get rid of just go Kingdom of Kingdom and everyone just joins him instantly. Yeah, that would just be too easy.
Who's going to bump heads with who? That's what you went to see.
I really think it's going to be a fight each episode between him. It's going to be like the prototype Saber arc, like before Saber like changed its script in terms of what we're going to get. While Saber seemed more Sentai-ish, this is coming off more writer-ish in how it's being developed. It could be, but it would essentially mean that we got 2 writer shows in 1 year.
More writer, more power. I mean, I'm okay with that. Hey, if it helps get me into Sentai more, I'm not going to complain.
Look, I'm just saying, to offset this, I'm going to need Akiba Ranger season 3 to just come on out. Like, I need something on the wacky side to throw things off. So Ash, your thoughts on your runaway characters for this episode?
Gira, gotta love Gira. Like, I like that big speech he made in the first episode, and you actually like get to know him like in the city, and he has that moment where people are getting like hit up for like paying the taxes, and he stands up to him, like chases them away, and he gets a warning saying, "Hey, you don't want to do that. You'll get in trouble with the king." What is like you'll get in trouble with like high above, and he's like he doesn't really care, and then he just goes into the castle and makes that big speech saying, if what your idea of justice, if what your idea is what you think you're doing is justice, then I'll be evil. And I think that was like a really great speech that he made. But Blue's cool as well. I want to see more of Blue, because I did like that conflict he had where he wasn't able to like transform and use the mecha, because he was like, he relies heavily on his technology, I guess, and he wasn't able to transform. And I can't wait to see what's going to go moving forward with him. But then again, I can't wait to explore other characters like Kaguragi and Rita and Ran and stuff like that. I think once they get their spotlight, they'll become my favorite characters as well, or I'll start trying to pick, all right, which character do I like the more?
So asking the real questions, how did Gira get into that castle? Like, he's just down there 1 second, and then he instantly gets easy access in. He gets like the VIP treatment too, because Rakulis is just there like, okay, great. I'm going to tell you my whole plan. I don't care that you just busted in here. Like he got there in like 0 to 2 seconds, like just instantly like teleported. It's just like, oh, it was just open like that, like I'm gonna need some behind the scenes on how he actually
Yeah.
like broke in there.
Mm.
He jumped
Whether
out
it
a
was, like,
ladybug.
no one guarding it.
He
Yeah.
jumped out a little ladybug mecha and it flew up there, and
It's like one of
It
those
would have
theme
helped had
parks
we
where
gotten like the 2 seconds of it, but we didn't.
they can't. The budget. They're already over budget.
Nah,
Need
man,
some
they
cool
cut out the
hardcore-
intro from it. Like, we got
The
all
interest-
that.
That still didn't save them money. they went over budget. They're like, listen,
yeah.
like you just see like a little cardboard cutout on a stick of a ladybug, and he's holding it. It's like, no.
Secret entrance? How did Gira even know about a secret entrance? What do you mean? This
I don't
man's
think
lived
it
in
was.
this country his entire life. You'd think if he knew about a secret entrance, he would have exploited that ages ago. I would have been stolen the king's sword.
Well,
Been
basically, he's
stolen it.
Aladdin though, so he probably knows. He's like an Aladdin. He's
Yeah.
a street rat running around, and this is Heracles is Jafar. He's just exploring the city. He knows where things are, or we just don't think about it.
Same reason how that's not a plausible answer. No, it's not. Doesn't have these kinds of magical abilities. I refuse to believe it.
I mean, he magically awoken God Kagawada, so
I mean, yeah, and just instantly got accepted by the sword. So the thing is just like, do we believe that the Oja caliber actually only responds to royal blood, or do you think it chooses who is worthy of wielding it when it comes to it? Because Rakulis says the line, but we clearly see Gira being able to use it and it awakening the god Kawagata without the need of all 5 of them uniting their blades. So without the need of the ceremony to even happen, he's capable of doing it. So explain this fuckery. Ash, explain the fuckery.
Yeah, all right. Then I think it's like the blade chooses you, because if Yama wasn't able to transform in that episode, then it must be sort of like sort of their, I want to say, not their will or their motivation, like their goals or their intent. Because it sounded like Yanma probably wanted to be like the sort of hero in this situation, like the one who would fix everything. So I'm guessing that the blade can look into something Toku cheesy, like look into the heart of whoever's like using the blade or something like that. But yeah, I'm guessing that what's he called? The villain?
Deathnarok or Ragnarok? Raculus.
Raculus, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, goodness me.
a lot of names.
Yeah, Raculus. I'm guessing if he does become this like Silver Ranger, he'll probably find a way to have his own like way to sort of override the sword and become his own ruler or like ranger, which would be cool to see.
And actually, you brought up an interesting point that I did not think of. Since Yanma didn't transform, you think his sword hasn't accepted him yet, since he's so reliant on the tech?
Yeah, because he even said, "Accept me, Shoe God," or something like that. And
I
he
didn't
said
even think of
nothing.
that. That's actually
Yeah, 'cause he
very
was trying to
interesting.
activate it with the little. I think it was the pull it or the flip it side of the sword.
Yeah,
Yeah.
was
You tried
trying to
using the
pull
pull like
feature.
the red part of the sword, the Shugo.
Yeah, that's definitely something that did not cross my mind, but that is
Yeah.
interesting, especially since we do see him transform next episode. So I guess maybe next episode is his first actual transformation, and we get that fight. But yeah, Mark, explain this fuckery about the sword.
all right. So, fuckery time. All right. Fuckology 101. Here's the thing. I think it's both, because there's been so many stories out there, games and movies, this and that, where it's like you could still be royalty and control a sword, but you don't get the full untapped potential of it. So maybe Heracles could still technically turn into the red Sentai. But I think obviously that there's one or two paths. The cop out is he's an orphan. Oh, who is his family? Obviously, he comes from the bloodline.
Yeah.
But there's also that side of not even the sword picking you. It's who is a king, who is a leader. Some people are born into it. Some people are naturals with it. His whole, it's the Dark Knight, honestly. The hero Gotham needs but doesn't deserve right now. Like, it's that whole situation of it. He showed that he cared more about that kingdom than Heracles did, from like an honest, pure standpoint.
Yeah.
And Exito holds a sword up. I have the power, He-Man style, blah, and or Thundercats Ho, depending on how old you are. And
Oh,
next, you know,
Thundercats.
God
Oh.
KingOhger.
I mean, those
is
are
awakened.
both like 2 years apart from each other.
No, they're like 6 years apart.
It's still 80s.
I know, but listen, got to play to the demographic here, okay? He-Man got recent shows. Thundercats.
We
they
had
tried.
Thundercats Roar, and
Yeah, we
oh
don't talk
my
about
God.
that, okay? We don't.
Oh yeah, that was a thing.
Moment of silence. But so it's like one of those things where it's like, I'm hoping it's not the cop out where he is technically secretly like of the bloodline. I like the idea of someone being just so like selfless and caring about the whole kingdom that he has become royalty. And it could lead to some great scenes down the road where maybe he publicly confronts Rackley's in front of the kingdom and the people turn on Rackley's and start backing Gira. Like we could get a cool
That
scene
would be
with
a
all
great
the-
moment.
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
That
that
reminds
happens.
me of like Q Ranger Lucky when Lucky was realized that he was actually the king.
I don't understand that reference. I should
Oh,
watch
yeah,
that.
back in
Ranger.
Q Ranger, Lucky was the actual king of the Leo system.
Yosha Lucky.
Okay, because, but like that would be such an impact. Like this is like all speculation. Like I said, I don't like doing theories one episode in, but it's like from the standpoint of the Older Caliber, because I don't even think Yanma was trying to transform. Honestly, like he was just trying to activate the mecha, but obviously he was under the impression you need
Transform,
everyone together. I don't think he was even trying because when you think about it, why would he help Rackley's? Why would he transform and help?
I think
You
you
know,
want to
he-
be the own hero in the situation, like to
Yeah,
be the
it
one.
wasn't even subtle too, because he even said, like I said earlier, I showed you how to siphon, get this electricity to your whole kingdom from the Mecca. He's like, why should you? You would have nothing in this kingdom if it wasn't for me. So it's kind of like that standoffish thing where like, well, you would have built this kingdom without me. You know what? Save it without me.
Nexus, explain the fuckery.
I think it's also both, like with the royal blood and then also choosing, but also about like how Yama is not transforming this episode. I think if you're accepted by the like you can transform when you're accepted by the Zord. Like why can all the 4 other Zords be able to move, but then the Kuwata is still not awakened? So I think because since the Zords can move and he can control the Zord, I think he can transform. It's just that he chose not to transform in this episode because of what happens with like the ceremony and stuff. But with the Oger caliber, also it should be something that's like it's an item that's like passed down from generations of kings to generations of kings. So because of that, I definitely think that royal blood is involved. But then definitely there is a sentient part inside the sort of like choosing, oh, is this the person that I would like to serve, or is this the person that I would like to serve? So it looks like the sword didn't, of course, didn't choose Reckless because he's a annoying guy. But then yeah, but yes, I agree with that comment. But so that's why I think Gira was chosen because there might be a chance that he has royal blood since he came from like a very bad like he an orphan background. And I love that scene with all of the kids just like throwing all the rocks at Gira and also the servants. I love that whole entire landscape. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting, but we do need a more detail on it.
Yeah, and I would say that if Gira does have royal blood, it might just be from the first hero himself, just because, it's been 2,000 years. There's no way that their bloodline stayed in a straight line. Nah, there's always branching like paths when it comes to bloodline, especially 2,000 years down the line. Most people can't even track their ancestors back a couple hundred years, let alone 2,000 years. No, like there's got to be some sort of even if it's like a slight, little tinge of it, it could still work in that sense. It's just like nowadays how many people in like Mongolia are related to Genghis Khan. A lot of them are because he got around, and hey, could still be a thing. It's just the way history works in a lot of those aspects. So moving on to like the Kawagata and the KingOhger of it all. In this episode, we got a giant mech fight. We got the full Gatai sequence. We got the use of very like a very showy mech fight. It did not like leave me bored at all. It was definitely a very action heavy fight in general, from the combination attack to the dynamic angles, since they were using that new screen to show like the arms like forming to the side of him. I was like, ooh, hit me with these nice dynamic shots. It's great. And then just the overall action of it all, it was a perfect meg fight for a debut episode. They just like, they had the explosions going with the bombast that I thought, like, from the initial preview, I was just like, oh, you guys are hitting it a little bit too heavy with the explosions. But in the context of the episode, I'm just like, nah, this is the right tone for this. This is absolutely like sold me with the overall suitmation and all the action that we got with it. The mech wasn't moving as clunky as I thought it might have been moving, especially with all of the auxiliary mechs that are attached to it, all the spiders and ladybugs and all that crap that's on there. It still moved very fluid, and honestly, it was a really well done mech fight. No CG from what I saw. I've seen the episode like 4 or 5 times now. I didn't spot
just a final attack.
That's really it, and even like some slight camera tricks when it came to like zooming in, but it wasn't CG. But yeah, how'd you feel about the mech fight and just that action set piece in general, Mark?
All right, I rewatched that mech fight a couple times because I was even trying to pick like, okay, what's the CG? But one thing that caught me at the explosions, and then like I had to do a double take because the sword was on fire. And I was like, okay. I was like, that is a nice touch. It seemed, and like I said, I enjoyed Down Brothers. I did enjoy Zenkaiger for what it was. This was easier on my eyes to watch because it wasn't, overly CG. There wasn't a lot of like fast paced, like motion stuff. It seemed like a very grounded mecha fight, which at the day, that's what I like. I like just, all right, Mock City built around. Let's blow up some buildings. Let's throw some practical effects. Let's have some fire in there. Like, it was really good, and I agree. It wasn't clunky because I thought like with all these different like like the ladybug, the spider, I thought it was like that's a lot of pieces on a mecha. Like it's a lot of are they even necessary? But then in one of the scenes, the spider shot the web and caught it, and I was like, okay, this is really cool. What else do these little bugs do? What else? And because we got the mecha fight right off the bat, the first episode, I'm like, I hope we don't go the formula of mecha fight like every episode or every other episode. I'm hoping
that's where it always stays its welcome.
I wanted to seem special because it is the god Kugawara. This is the KingOhger, which, as you said, the show is named after the mecha. So it's like make it feel special when they need to take this mecha out for battle. That's what but this really impressed me. Like I said, not to set the guy, but I've seen a lot of Power Rangers, and I think from an introductory first time seeing a fight sequence with a new like Megazord, so to speak, like this blew me out of the water. I was like really impressed with it.
Yeah. Ash, what did you think?
I loved it. I think it was a really cool mech fight scene. Like Mark said, I'm hoping we don't get it every episode because that's when I sort of the dip when I watch the episode. Like, I'm not gonna lie, there's episodes in Zenkaiger and Don Brothers where I fast forward through the mech fights because most of the fight choreography is kind of the same. But I do like the background they used for this episode with the kingdom. And I'm hoping that we get more like luscious backgrounds from the new screens and the special effects they're using instead of like the virtual dimension that they did for Don Brothers or the city they did for Zenkaiger. Like, I'm hoping we get something really cool and different each episode with all these kingdoms. I get the feeling we might get like the old forest mech fights again with where it's based, but seeing how we've got different kingdoms, I'm hoping that also brings like different scenery for these mech fights. Like we get a mech fight in the snow or something like that. That'd be really cool to see. But yeah, I think like it's a really cool looking mech, and the first fight was really great.
We need nighttime fights and mechs again. Like,
yes,
we need that. It's been so long.
I'm tired of Ultraman being the only one that's doing like a lot of nighttime fights. I want some in Sentai now.
But yeah, I mean, luckily I would say for the arguing in the sake of Dombros, they did manage to keep the majority of their mech fights when it happened to be like a minute or less.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
like, let's
true.
speed run through this because I don't care. You don't care. Let's go.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you about that. I was like, is that like normal, like for Super Sentai? Because
No,
like I always
No.
thought they were,
no.
because like I thought I was like, wait, did they cut stuff? Like, why are these so quick? Because I was like,
I would be
okay.
that guy that after watching Sentai for so many years, that after a while, like I would be like, these mech fights just overstay their welcomes, and
Like, all right,
like
wrap it up.
especially like the
Mhm.
second of Heisei, it just became too formulaic. Where like the last 10 to 5 minutes of the show were just a mech fight, and I'd be like, okay, all right, I get it. Let's
Mhm.
go through it. And then once we got Dombros, just like, we get it. You're not gonna get it every episode, but when you do, it's a couple minutes, or it's a
Yeah.
CG clusterfuck. Here you go,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
eyes, and then that's
Oh,
what we
okay, I
got.
see.
That's what we got. So Nexus, what did you think about the mech fight?
So as I said before, when we were talking about the CG, it's a very good balance because I was really worried that we would have like Dawn Brother the same where it had CG fights, but then once they gave like the preview of the episode 1 and seeing that was actual suit, I was like, oh, okay, let's do this. And I'm so glad they did it because that because I watch a lot of Power Rangers and that's how I got into the Super Sentai. So I've actually watched quite a bit. And it's just well done. Like, well, also it had like a couple of shots where it was like you were at the ground and you were staring up at the
Yeah.
KingOhger, and I was like, Ultraman? This is not Ultraman. And then seeing all of the different landscapes with like the different houses, and then there was a scene where the roof was being taken out and then the mech being hit by the wall and the wall cracked. I was like, they're going hard on this, but I don't know whether they will keep this quality for the next couple of episodes because it's specifically the first episode, so of course they will go all out. Will they keep this consistency for the whole entire series? I'm not sure. I hope so they do because I really like what they're giving us and I want more. Like I want to see more interesting shots, and since we're going to have like the different landscapes with like the different cities and also the different kingdoms, I want to see how do they do it. Like for example, how we had the houses in Shugodam, like with like these wooden agriculture houses. How would they do it in like um in Kosopa? Would they have like these electric buildings or in
They're gonna
Rita's
get a bunch of computer towers, and
Oh.
they're just gonna destroy
Yep.
them.
yeah, or like
That's better than the
Rita's
reference I was gonna make.
Rita's place, like Gokan, was it? Yeah, Gokan, with all the ice, and I'm just really happy, and
Snowy mountains.
I want them to keep
Mm.
this balance between like having very good mech fights that are like in person with the CG, because if we have too much of one side, or I think there would just be it would be a bit of a mess in my opinion.
Now, next episode, it does show in the preview that we get two people into the cockpit of KingOhger, because they do show red and blue, both using the same contraption inside the cockpit. So
Yes.
it does look like we are leaning towards the realm of all five in one central. They're all going to be rigged up to this mechanical contraption, just out here, hopefully
Space.
coordinating
Where's the space?
correctly with everything and making it work. But it just very much seems like it looks good with two. I don't know how it would be with five of them with that rig up, because it does seem like it would be a little bit excessive once we get to that point, if we get to that point, or if it ends up being like a hand two system later on, where it's just like, yeah, we can go Pacific Rim with the two of us here, but then it's gonna get too much, so let's split off. So
Well, with all five, we're of close age proximity. There's this music video a long time ago from this boy band group NSYNC, and they had an album called
I
No
knew you were
Strings
doing that.
Attached, and it's called Bye Bye Bye, and they all had little ropes.
Classic.
So it would just look like that, because I already had the clip already on my computer muted, ready to go when that happens in the show, because that is going in the review, because That's the first thing that came to my mind, or like Pinocchio. But I was like, no, it has to be NSYNC. That like, but my thing is because they're watching and you can control the whole thing. What if like Blue's in there by himself and like everyone else is fighting? Is it like kind of a situation where one person can pilot it? Because it doesn't seem like they have like a traditional cockpit where everyone just chills, you know?
Yeah, no, he kind of just warped in there in the
Mm.
first episode anyway,
Yeah.
when he started piloting it. But from the preview, we just see the both of them there at the cockpit at the same time
Mm.
with the contraptions on. It's like a
Assume-
split second, but you see it.
Yeah. I was wondering if that was just like
A cut, like
edit.
just a
Yeah.
like,
Like
some
a,
weird
like a little
cut.
misdirection, or like, or we could get like, or I'm tired of making old references. Robot Jocks, the old film with mecha fighting, where it's like they're kind of like piloting.
Even I don't get that reference.
Oh my
Mm,
god,
same here.
Robot
Oh
Jocks,
no.
Nope.
dude. Okay, basically, nah. Okay, it's mech fighting where like people. It's Pacific Rim, like 25 years before Pacific Rim, but it was instead of kaiju's, it's a mech fighting arena. Yeah, it's really good. It's old, but I was thinking like maybe they're fighting each other, like they're trying to fight for control over it. Like maybe Yanma has like his own exosuit. He's trying to override Gira's controls of it.
Reminds me of
See,
this,
even
that.
Roroni's older than you, Mark, and even he didn't get the reference.
Oh no.
Well, as a man of culture, I have seen anything mecha related, and very rarely, especially in the 80s and early 90s, did we get anything American made like robot films. So, but no, it's actually it's hard to find, and it's spelled with an X because it's all cool. It's not jocks like CKS, like it's all edgy.
Yeah.
1988 cool.
Generation
But-
X. Ooh,
Yeah,
let's
but it's
go.
like one of those things where it's like maybe like my thing was like Yenma's probably trying to override the controls of it because he does have the tech. He knows the ins and out. Like he developed so much tech. Like maybe they're fighting because it could have been just a cut done because I don't know how it work. If you control the whole thing, even the sword is in his hand in the exo suit. So it's like, how would 5 people control it?
I mean, from the way that the preview looked like, because I did go frame by frame, it did look like it was green screen superimposed over him. Like when you see Yanma get into the shot, it seemed like it was done using an effects
Yeah.
as opposed to like they were both on set together. Because honestly, I refuse to believe that Toei actually spent the money to, I know they bought one of these contraptions, but then let alone buy 2.
Or even by
Re-
5.
So yeah, and then 5.
Toei's gonna have to
Absolutely
sell. Toei's gonna have to sell the licensing rights to a lot more Kamen Rider seasons. People in the West to develop for to release for them to like afford more than one of those.
They got to get into good with Hasbro.
Yeah. I'm not. Nope. Not gonna make that joke. I'm being roasted in the freaking comment section for being old.
You are
Wow.
absolutely
You
getting.
are. Compared to all of us, I feel like you are.
Listen. All right. I like movies. I like robots. Okay. Like, I didn't see the movie when it came out. I mean, I was alive when it came out, but that's besides the point.
No one's gonna know this. This is something that you probably can't even find on archive.org.
I have it on VHS. I don't even think it came out on DVD.
Oh my god. Yeah. There you go. There you go. But yeah, in terms of like the piloting of it, like let's say if they do end up getting more people in there, like do you think it's gonna you think it's just pretty much preview fuckery, or will we have a max of like 2, or will all 5 end up being in the cockpit with this contraption all their Nexus?
Oh, why me?
This is how it normally goes. I just completely just hot potato it. You never know who I'm gonna pick. I just go.
That's
Okay,
honestly how it
so
goes.
If I remember correctly of what I was watching, the top part of the like the contraction, it has like an insect of it, but then the eyes is like the color of them. So for example, Gira, it was like red. Is that makes me wonder that we might be able to get all 5 of them with this contraption, because since they have the color representing the exoskeleton and representing them, so it's going, if that does happen, I feel like it's gonna be like a one like not all five of them gathered in the same room, and it would just be a cut scene of like them in separate areas, and then maybe just one scene. But I really can't see them in the same room because otherwise, just those five bulky skeletons just together, that is going to be a big mess. And also, since the skeleton's also holding the caliber as well, I feel like it's just way too wide.
It's gonna
So
take bump and grind to a whole new level, and this ain't even a giga Toku.
yeah, so
Hmm.
because of that, I think the best we can get for two, it's like two or three, but I predict that there is going to be an exoskeleton for every single member, but whether it's all of them inside the mech or them just being outside and only one person controlling it, I think there will be like two people controlling. I don't think it'll
Hmm.
be all five of them.
Gotcha. And Ash, what do you think in terms of like how this cockpit game is gonna play out? A game of cockpits.
Um, Game of cockpits. So I think how they could do it is two ways. What you guys have been saying, where we'll get like a couple of like rangers using it, or they're actually going to have all five using them, but they're just going to film the scene separately, and then do the voiceover work, and they'll sort of do the split screen effect, or do the cuts to when someone else is in there. They
Gotcha.
could do it that way, yeah.
Actually, I have not also seen the transformation lessons. I know that they're out there. I haven't gotten a chance to see them.
Same. I haven't seen them
To
either.
answer your question, I have seen the toy review of the caliber, so I do know what the henshin is because at the time when like
The
all of
transformation
them
lessons are different. This is something that the cast did like after episode 1, and they were like going through like some of the mechanics on it.
but if I judge it by like the toy review, because I know that if you like for example, if you want to do Papillon Oger, you press her button, right? But then once you press her button and then you flip the red switch, you can actually go straight into the transformation of the ranger. So that's why everyone in the first episode pulled the red shoe god, what is it, Kua god, like the red one, because I think that's they did the shortcut transformation instead of having to flip all five of them. But yes, I do want to watch the transformation lessons, and I'll find some time to watch it.
They did sub them. I did see.
Yeah, I
That.
Yeah,
got
I
them
also saw it
Mm.
as
subbed.
well. Uh, Mark, you gotta send that to me.
I have to upload it. I have it though. I got it like a couple
Okay.
days ago.
Yeah, I just haven't had a chance to watch them. Been
Yeah.
busy actually
Mm.
working.
I don't usually watch all that
We all
extra
have
stuff,
our
like
IRL
the,
stuff to do.
the like
Yep.
lessons and stuff. I know Don Brothers had a lot of cool extras they were releasing, and this. I never really watched any of that stuff before.
Yeah.
I only watched this so I could watch Sononi's actress dance, but
I
you know
mean-
that's
Oh,
all
Getting
that's why
first-
those live
no.
rent free in my hard drive for.
You have an external, internal, and a thumb drive that you wear around your neck that no one sees.
Exactly. Just carry it around with me. No one's getting this precious.
128 key encryption on it.
Damn.
Just need all the water on it.
Mm.
It's
Oh yeah,
waterproof.
I'm pretty sure
It's
it's not
waterproof.
waterproof. Nah, I'll get the special casing for that son bitch. All right. Okay, so kind of like the last piece of subject, and this might actually end up being our shortest live stream since like the first one, just because we're generally just
Mhm.
talking about
Yeah.
like the
KingOhger.
first episode and
Yeah.
not just a
Speaking
full
of-
series. Yeah.
I was going to sorry to cut you off. Do you think they'll explain how the KingOhger mech showed up in Don Brothers? Do you think we'll get an explanation for that?
Oh no.
Probably not.
No.
Dom Bros,
No.
you already know, ain't got to explain shit.
Yeah,
that's
true,
the theme
true.
of Dom Bros. I really
Yeah.
think just like Taro just channeled his big king energy, and
Mhm.
thus the King Oger obliged and was just like, "Here you go, taketh, and thou shalt receiveth." And he just
Mm.
came out there and just laid pipe immediately. See, no explaining needed. It was just
true,
just
no,
happened.
That works. So,
So if we get
I was
it, it'll probably be during the crossover.
So really quick in the magazine, they actually showed high-res still shots of the actual explosions and particles
Oh,
while they were
that's
filming
so
the fight.
cool.
Nice.
Like I said, this magazine is all mecha. Like no, like barely anything. It's just all like toys, the mecha. They're obviously trying to hype up the Ohger caliber, which no one's gonna buy.
Not buying it.
But like, I was generally shocked because like
need a
I
memorial
used.
version.
I don't own anything memorial for Super Sentai. I will get that. But
But actually,
trying to think how to word it. It's like and now that I was thinking about what I said before about like in Ash also like reiterating not having the mecha show up a lot in the episodes. I just realized if they are hyping up the mecha so much in all the magazines and this and that, I have a feeling
Every episode.
Yeah.
Every single episode.
I was just like realized that I was like, oh, they show like, and I'm wondering too because like the main Bugnarok thing they fought with the mecha in this episode, and when you see all the Attack on Titans and stuff going, that's what I'm calling them right now. Do you think we're gonna get Monster of the Week? Because that was something I was thinking about. I meant to ask earlier.
I really think that that's part of the reason why the Bugnarok even exists, is just to give us a Monster of the Week formula. But my hopes, given how this episode played out, is that we might actually have a serialized storyline in Sentai for once, which would be great, meaning you can't like miss an episode.
Yeah.
Like every episode is going to have some plot, which would be, a good change of pace.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's like every Sentai, like entering the Reiwa era, has been trying to change and shake up the conventions in some way, shape, or form. And going the like Monster of the Week route and go with a serialized story would be something that we haven't seen in Sentai for a long time.
Yeah. And from a Toku standpoint in general, like me and you have talked about this before, it'd be so much different than what we're getting in Kamen Rider right now, which is like the 2-episode arcs. It just like a long-term overarching story would be nice.
Yeah,
that's what gets me more invested in Super Sentai. If it's like an overall, like just one main story with arcs throughout it, but just one consistent overall. Here's what's happening. Here's the threat.
It depends on the show, but yeah, given the tone that KingOhger gives, if it does go with a serialized storytelling, then that would indeed be a great thing. I wouldn't see that as a net negative at all. So, Ash, thoughts on that? Monster of the Week or serialized?
I think we'll get sort of both. Mark, how many episodes of Dairanger are you into yet?
2.
Okay. I was going to say that's okay, because Dairanger does sort of have a serialized story, but it also does have Monster of the Week where you can't miss an episode. So I'm hoping that KingOhger will be like that.
Oh, he's got cat issues. Nexus, what do you think? Serialized Monster of the Week.
I really hope we get serialized because I sort of had enough of the Monster of the Week, but I know they have to do it because since it's Super Sentai. But since they're making a change in like all of these series on like the CGI and also the plot and everything, I hope they give us a serialized story because of how interesting all of these characters are, and even with the butlers. And I'm just really excited to see if there's like any more development and if they will be able to last for like about 30 to 40 episodes. But maybe if it's because if they develop on their characters and then they burn out, then we might have to go back to the formula of Monster of the Week. But also it also depends if we also get like more generals besides the 2 Bugnarok generals that we have already seen as well. But I really hope that we get a serialized story, and I'm looking forward to it.
Look, there's really no pressure to do a Monster of the Week with this season. Now, Don Brothers was kind of forced into it because they were like, oh, we got to have, 50 Hitotsuki for the anniversary sake. But, if they were given the option to, the Hitotsuki wouldn't even be a thing. Like they even felt like background, like mooks in their own.
Yeah.
So they even gave up on the mooks like halfway through. Like the Anoni became a non-factor in Don Bros.
Minoru was a background character though.
Minoru was the closest thing to a proper general we ever got in Don Bros. It just kept showing back up. But yeah, it's like if they ended up going with something like introducing a new set of generals and they became reoccurring villains, in there. Like the last time I had some generals that popped up that really stood out in my mind was like Maji Ranger, when we got to like that second arc and they introduced like the second half, and it's just like that's it. Like that's how you introduce like way more characters to the dynamic, or you make just really good villains, because in some seasons of Sentai, like the villains are what makes the season worthwhile. And if you just have them be just a generic monster of the week, it kind of throws things off. So if they really give us some good generals, outside of like, you know, whatever storyline they're cooking up with Raculus, but we actually end up getting some dimensions to the Bugnarok army and Death Narak and his general and whoever else to introduce afterwards, then that could be good. Because I mean, next episode we do see that Death Narak is traveling to Yanma's country and demanding like the KingOhger and demanding that technology. So there's something that's building there, but of course it's too early to tell in terms of how the villains will end up properly playing into the story arc. So any thoughts in terms of like generals or anything like that when it comes to this?
Like honestly, it's hard to say because we barely know these villains so far.
Nope. I'm still sticking to we get a Black Arachnia style female general that we could all tweet gifs and photos of Black Arachnia to Zio every day.
Oh my goodness.
That's the only way to revive the bit.
Yeah. We'll have to sign him up for that, like that Amazon thing where you get like the big 5-gallon water jug with a cup dispenser, and he's just got to put it right behind him in scene. Because, but I would like, it makes sense if it's been like a whole army, you're gonna have more than one general.
Yeah.
You know? So we are gonna have subordinates. It's just how many.
We gotta meet them.
And if there's too many, it's gonna be like redundant, and then it's gonna be like, okay, you have too many now. Like, I would like it, like, there's 5, maybe 6 Sentai, so have 6 generals, you know, and
I feel like that's a bit too much.
6, nah, when you think about 2000, they got, like, millions of these bugs. It's kind of like Gears of War, when all, like, the locusts came up from underneath the ground. That's basically what this is, technically.
That's true.
So it's like, 6
some
would
of them
be
were
fine.
grunts, like, some of them were grunts, like, with Gears where you did have like Ram and stuff like that, and the other like bigger ones. It's been a while since I've gone back and play like the original Gears trilogy, but I remember Ram and some of the other ones recently.
Oh, did someone's computer
laptop
die?
exploded.
Oh, I think the laptop went out to me cloudy up in the sky.
Oh no.
There we go.
Did you die?
Was that me or?
Yeah, you died.
Yeah.
You blasted off. Maybe you clicked X on accident.
I pressed nothing.
I'm kind of mad you didn't come back with a VTuber model showing, because then I'd be like, oh, look, it's that time you got reincarnated as a VTuber on our show.
I'm sorry. I think that's going to be having to happen next summer because I only have a laptop here, unlike you guys having desktops. So yeah, my laptop is like 2 years, 3 years old. So that is
superior desktop life.
It's not superior yet. I still need a 4090.
Yeah, mine's getting old.
So moving on, now we go into the area of kind of rampant speculation on things that we can kind of know and kind of assume. And the first one I've already touched on and gave my thoughts on who I think the KingOhger is, that we already know is gonna be a thing. But the silver repaint of the KingOhger, known as KingOhger, I think is Raculus. They're going to be an anti-hero type character. They're going to go against the other KingOhgers, and they're not going to join the squad. I really want a bad Sentai that doesn't join the team at all. It just stays being bad.
Stays neutral.
I think for a character like Raculus, deserved. I don't want a redemption arc. Like, there's some characters that I'm just like, I love you being evil, and I don't want you like turning good. I just want to hate you. Like, I need you to be like.
Honestly, he doesn't need a redemption because he hasn't done anything irredeemable yet. He's just a dick,
a shitty king.
Yep. So thoughts on what route you want the KingOhger to go in terms of things, Ash?
I think it's going to be Raculus. Like, no doubt about it. I get the feeling that either that's going to be him sort of like doing his own thing with the kingdom and how he declares war on everyone, or sort of like he'll disappear for a couple of episodes, and then that's sort of how he'll announce himself. Like he'll show up as this silver ranger. But there is a sixth ranger that's rumored, but don't know too much about him, so that's a topic for another day when we get down that line.
All right, Mark.
So I haven't looked at any leaks or anything like that. So like I had to look it up while you were talking about this like silver one. I think it's cool. I don't think it's gonna be like a permanent like character. It could be just something like, okay, like it could be Rackley's, and it's kind of like one of those things that's like that story element to like test the metal and the convictions of Gira. You know, see if he faults from his ideals or his beliefs. I don't think it's going to be. I could be wrong because I don't know a lot of the tropes. So I don't know if like this other one ends up being a sixth or good or bad. Like I don't honestly know anything really about it other than what I just saw for like little leaks that everyone's talking about.
It's not too much of a crazy leak. It's just a plushie that got out for the
I see like the people just going like completely crazy on social media. Like I was like typing it really quick, and it's just like this is this person, and then this happens, and I'm like, how do they know all this stuff? The show just aired. Come on now, that's not
rampant speculation.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, pretty much,
so I don't really know. It could even, for all we know, it could be even something that's a flashback.
That's true. Yeah. Like, since there are previous like kings, obviously they could have all had the capability of transfer.
Or, you know, hey, when the ground opened up and these Ragnarok showed up, a dormant sixth king awoken. Could be like the whole in space with freaking the Silver Ranger type thing. Like, I don't know. So I'm not really going to speculate.
What if the Ragnarok sort of claim a kingdom for their own and they sort of become their own dependent country?
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
So there could be like a sixth kingdom of Ragnarok.
I mean, it'd all still be bug based, so could still work if they have their own Ohger forms.
Or they conquer a kingdom and they claim it for their own.
Yeah.
So Nexus, what do you think about the like? What are your thoughts on who or what the Okawagata Ohger could be, and whether or not you want them to be good or evil?
We do like. Okay, looking at how like the story is being told, there's a high % chance that it's gonna be Raculus. I want it not to be. I want it to be someone completely different and like someone that we weren't expecting. And I want this person to be like some sort of like a character that's like helping out the KingOhgers in a way, or may have been like a previous KingOhger. Like like I never actually thought about because I also don't look very much on like the leaks, so I'm only judging on base. But it is a good idea that this KingOhger can be evil, and just I would love to see battles with him and Red, and I would love to see those clashing like personalities. But then there should be something, we should have something unexpected where maybe he's helping out the KingOhgers, or he is there or teams up with the Ragnarok. Like I just want something unexpected that I'm just like, oh, they were going this route. Oh, I didn't expect that. Like
I swerve in there.
Change.
I mean, pulling something out of nowhere would be if like Okawagata Ohger pulls up in like a jet ski with a mariachi band behind him. That would be something I would not expect. Like that would be amazing. Be like, whoa.
I would be thoroughly amused and entertained. Be one of the top moments of the year.
Let's see. Looking at the poll results, it looks like most people would want Okawagata Ohger to be evil, as opposed to good, at 90 to 9%, with a total of 21 votes committed to that one. So yeah, a lot of people would prefer Okawagata to be evil. So the next thing, and of course, it's Sentai. The second a season starts and you get your base roster, everybody's like, well, who's going to be the sixth? What do you guys want for the sixth? Everybody always wants to move on to who the hell the sixth Sentai, who the proper sixth is going to be, because it's clearly not going to be the Okawagata Ohger. That's going to be treated as like the extra ranger, if anything. So in terms of I have two thoughts of what could possibly serve as the sixth member of the team. And one is if the KingOhger itself miniaturizes to a knight form similar to Gosei Knight in Gosager, where as opposed to it just being a person, it's a sentient robot, since it looks like the god Kawagata does have a form of sentience. And if it could just miniaturize, get a different form when it miniaturizes down, it would end up serving that role. So that's the first theory that I have on what could possibly end up working as a sixth. Second one is just because the fact that most of the kingdoms in the world have been showcased off, unless we have some sort of Atlantis style fuckery where it's either like a kingdom that's sunken and has risen back up to the lands, or
cool.
they pull another route and it's a kingdom on the moon of this planet. And that's where the sixth is from.
Sky
Moon
Kingdom.
Ranger.
Yeah.
Moon Ranger.
Those are the two theories that I have. It's either going to be a miniaturized KingOhger, or it's going to be either Atlantis or Moon Kingdom based sixth joining the squad. However, I do not want gold as their color. I am tired of gold and silver being the sixth Sentai. Give me green. Give me like give me a different color. Give me just something.
What if it's pink?
That will be unexpected.
That'd be fine. That'd be fine.
Be kind of cool.
Like a pink six Sentai. We've never gotten that. So yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be great.
But I just don't want your standard like flashy colors one that's gonna end up getting nerfed, a couple episodes. They'll show off like being an amazing episode, their debut episode and their following episode, but then after that it's just like
they get jobbed out by the next villain or the general.
Yep.
What if it's pink
and
Kaito?
then Red gets their upgrade.
Could be pink Kaito. Kaito comes back in. Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
Pink
no.
Kaito.
No, I would
He
end
runs-
up
he
having
runs
to
a
be
PC
Taro,
repair
peach
company.
color. Peach color Taro shows up.
Or we can have a white Taro, like since he was wearing
Yeah.
white at the end of the series.
I was thinking that'd be a great Easter egg, but then that would be such a troll and it would make so many people angry if it was just a one-off.
He literally just appears, gets this
Yeah.
nice new suit, and it's just like,
Like-
oh shit, here we go. Next episode's like, shit, my kingdom needs me. I'll see you later. He'll pull a Poochie
Yeah.
from The Simpsons and just get taken
Yep.
off the set, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Oh, no.
But I don't really know enough of the Super Sentai 6 member tropes, but I like there could be a hybrid of your idea, Zero. Like, so in Superman, right? There's this whole Kryptonian city that's in like a little pocket, little orb thing. What if there's like a little pocket miniature city and he like comes out and then he gets full size? But then I was thinking Kagone, she's got injured, but she's not dead. Yellow protected her. She could be a sixth. That'd be kind of cool because then it's like someone we were introduced to that you don't really would think that would happen. You think it's just a friend, and it would be nice to have someone who has a more closer personal relationship with Gira, because right now he's basically an outsider to everyone else in the group.
The thing is, isn't Kagone like literally a kid? Like that girl looks
Kogane, yeah,
really
she
young.
She is young.
Yeah.
Unless she
So?
does a.
Wasn't there a whole Super
uh,
Sentai season where they're
sky
turned into
blue-
kids at one point?
Yeah, unless she does the sky blue Q Ranger type where he
They
was like
she
very young as
maintains
well.
her size, or we get a Kiba Ranger from Die Ranger where they actually grow up, or a Justin from Turbo where they grow up.
That's what I'm saying. Like that'd be hilarious.
Mm.
Like, but there's a lot of like, I don't know. Like, I don't know why I get why everyone wants to speculate the sixth Ranger. Like, I saw everyone. That's more people I saw talk about that on social media after the first episode than the actual first episode itself.
That's the thing that really annoys me about the community in some aspects. Is like once Thing comes out, they only want new Thing. They want next Thing before new things even done being new.
That's what
Like
threw
even
me
when
off.
Don Bros happened, they were like, I can't wait to find out about the sixth. And it's just like
that happens with me with my
Everyone
Dino
was
Fury
praising
reviews.
for more.
oh
Yeah.
my god.
I stopped doing Dino Fury reviews because, but yeah, I was just like, well, I was like, I don't even. How can I like think about a sixth member right now when I haven't fully gotten to know the 5 that's on there?
Yeah, true.
I don't even
true.
fully understand the villains yet and their full true motivations. I don't even know, honestly, other than Dick Rackless is, he's all right. I know enough about him. I hope his character doesn't change, but like, I need to know everyone else. Like, I don't need it's tough because like that it's like everyone's like, oh, it'll be white or it'll be like this color or that color. I'm like, well, there's a lot of colors like to pick from. So like I don't, and it could be just a robot because Yanma has this whole tech kingdom. He could just make it'd be like Bill and Ted's like Excellent Adventure, like robot mecha Gira. Like it could be like anything. So it's like, or we might not even get one.
Yeah, that's true, but I think it's already in the rumor mill that there is one, but
There's
you
all
know.
the rumor mill. You know how rumors are.
Yep. Nexus, what are your speculations on where could possibly the sixth member come from? And what color would you like?
So you
Red
said
velvet.
green and
It's just a darker
you
red
just caught me off
with
guard.
white trim around it.
Well, actually, I like your opinions of green and white. That would be very different. And I want this guy to be from the Nose Gira. I want them to do a Power Rangers in space type, where basically the six is someone that Gira knows close, and then that they can work together and like Gira's like the six member is actually supporting Gira's ideals and stuff. So maybe this like because since all of the King Ogers they actually have their own what's the word? The own helpers in a
Subordinate,
way. Yeah.
Yes,
retainers.
subordinate.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if the
Butlers.
six is Gira's subordinate? That would be very interesting in a ways. Like of him like helping out Gira. And then another idea, as you guys said, is like him coming from another kingdom because we are only introduced to these five kingdoms like on this earth that they say, but there can be like a sixth kingdom that we don't know. Maybe it's even underwater or in the sky. So that would be also a very interesting theory. But we need to know more about this whole entire earth and see like more about this history. Like as we said, it's the first episode and there's a lot of speculations, but we just have to see, and I really hope that the color is green, white, silver, maybe not, or we can yeah, pink or orange. I did see orange in the comments and that could also be a good idea as well.
If it's orange, then Cosmic Fury gets a sequel. All right, Ash, what are your thoughts?
I don't know what color we'll get for the Six Ranger. Like I sort of followed the leaks, but then I forget about them. I'll be like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Until I see like the image, and then it's like solidified in my like brain. But I wouldn't mind seeing like a white or a green Six Ranger. Like I get it, gold and silver, marketable colors, but like a lot of people in chat are saying, can we get a brown Ranger? That'd be
Better
cool.
be a dung beetle based.
Dung beetle, yes.
that would be cool.
Throw shit at the Bugnarok.
There we go.
Just secret ultimate attack.
That'd be cool. But I know that yellow's a mantis, but what have we got? Like a grasshopper one, sort of like
That would be what I would want to go with, just because, like
Kamen
the
Rider.
fact, yeah, we get a proper like grasshopper based Sentai that's Kamen Rider themed in a sense. We get the proper bug eyes and everything. Be great.
What if the six is played by the same actor who played Hikaru from Revice?
Oh,
I don't think that man's coming back.
I don't
No.
think,
I don't think that man's coming back at all. No, it's not gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
Let's bring back yet a returning actor from. Actually, yeah, I would honestly welcome a returning actor from Kamen Rider to play the sixth.
Especially if it's Grasshopper, like that, just be kind of a little wink and a nod, a little inside a little meta right there.
I know we already have the Bata toy, but look, Kabuto gave us 2 Grasshopper Kamen Riders, so I think can be thrown out the window. So there's different options. So yeah, it's like in terms of theory of what insect you think it would go, because that's the next question that the chat is proposing. What insect? I would love grasshopper. I would love dung beetle if it is brown. There's a variety. I would even want to like throw the entire gimmick out the window of bugs and say, this one's sword based. We're going full saber. We're going a sword based one. It's literally based off the caliber itself in terms of transformation. So those are like the different dynamics that you have. And I know Ash already laid down his thoughts. So Mark, what insect or what theme would you like to see the sixth have? Think on it. Don't think too hard. Whatever comes to your mind. Oh my God.
I got nothing.
Damn.
It's tough for me to speculate on anything, like think like anything past like.
You could have said cockroach, and I would have accepted it. I'd be like, all right.
No, because I'm thinking of the auxiliary mechs, and I'm pulling them up right now because I don't want to say one that's already done, and I'm like, I don't know, like the dragonfly would have been like my go-to because I kind of think they're cool, but we already have that, and I mean, you could always go the route of like opposing ones, like you could have a moth, but then I'm gonna make a lot of tick references in all my reviews if they do that.
What if like the Bugnarok have all like the shitty insects like fucking dung beetles and horseflies and stuff like that?
They could. They
have all the
Hell, we could even get a
flies.
crustacean-based one because they're just the insects of the sea. And if the sixth is from a seafaring kingdom, they could pull the crustacean route.
It's a shrimp.
There we
or
go.
Crawfish.
Shrimp.
Get literal crabs.
Oh, the jokes just make themselves.
Get literal crabs in your Sentai.
I think what else we would have. I mean, we could have stuff like caterpillars and freaking. There's a lot of options.
There are a lot of insects.
And especially we go to different phylums. Like, yeah, they have a spider, but they could always do the whole. Here's a tarantula. Here's a daddy long leg, and then here, like, there's just too many bugs, and it's like trying to think of like all of them are kind of cool. The ones I haven't picked.
Yeah, and if Tackle never gets to be a common writer, maybe she can finally become a Super Sentai and we get a ladybug. I know there are already the auxiliary mechs that attach to the arms, but hey,
a bigger one
could still be a thing, a bigger ladybug.
You could have a queen bee.
Considering that Pokemon's got like 4 ladybug based Pokemon, it could be a thing. Gotta follow Pokemon's route.
That's actually how I was picking the bugs too. I was like thinking about the Pokemon. I was like butterfly, no moth. Then they got the ninja sec one. That's like the ninja like one that could like, and I'm like, oh, we just get a Metapod based one. And it's like, oh god,
stays in a cocoon the entire time. That's it. Just stuck there. Nexus, what's the insect you would think of? Termite. That's a good one, Zoran.
Ooh, that is good.
Okay, so
eat Rakulus's wood because he's packing.
A bit of IRL. I study biology, but the trouble is no insect came into my mind. So actually, I opened a tab of literally popular insects. And I'm looking at the list, and none of these feel like what the type of insect I would imagine. But one came out to my mind: a praying mantis. A praying mantis would be.
But we already got KingOhger, and that is the mantis.
Oh shit!
See. Throw your theory out the window. Start back over.
Yeah, exactly. There's like so many, but I want them to do
so many insects. Names one that's already on the team. Come on now, do better.
Like I no.
You got a scorpion.
I want them to do something. I want them to do some. Let me. All right. I want them to do something like Zoo of the World, where we have like. Different, like, insects.
I don't want that. No, Zoo of the World can no. I don't want that in my life again. That was a terrible sixth.
No, not in character wise, but like design wise of having like free.
That design was ass too. It was booty butt cheeks. No.
Okay.
Mark has no context. Just look up Zoo of the World. They literally were like, let's take 3 animals, combine them up, but then let's go ahead and make the suit, gold, silver, and what the fuck was the other color? Just black.
It was like
and that was it?
Yeah, black.
Yeah.
And then he transformed with a telescope fishing rod. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's ass. It's ass.
How did that pass quality control?
They thought it was a good idea.
Dude, they thought they had heat with that. That is ass.
So I really don't know actually with the insects. But they could do a land animal so that it's like contrast between the insects and then a different animal or something that's like very different. Or they could do something, as we say, maybe like an insect or something to do with the sea. That would also be very interesting. But as I really don't have very much knowledge on insects, I really don't know.
Dude, that's what like if you order a Sentai suit on Wish.
Well, too bad. It's official.
Wow. Well, they saved a lot of money designing that one.
All right. And of course, there are some people that want like Hercules beetles, Kabuto beetles. Like they come in so many
Yeah.
different varieties when it comes to
Yeah.
things. And of course, because of the toy line, like had I not already seen God Kabuto before, like
Mhm.
this show aired, I would have been in the speculation camp of going with it because, you know, Japan loves going with a Kawagata and Kabuto like
Yeah.
Yeah,
dynamic.
Metabot. Yeah.
Yeah, not just the Metabots, but I mean, we had it in Metal Heroes, we've had it in
Mhm.
Kamen Rider, we've had it in Sentai
We just
already
had it
as
in
well
Omni and
when it came
Levi's.
to the Go Risers in Hurricaneger. Like
Mhm.
we've had those dynamics before. So it just depends on if they still try tackling that or if they try going just a completely different route for it. So honestly, like the possibilities are almost endless, but of course we'll end up getting leaks and proper details probably within the next month and a half because that's usually
Yeah.
around the time
The
that we start
next
getting it.
the next
It's gonna
magazine's
pass
coming out
really
in
quick.
about 17 days is when scans will pop up again.
So about
How
3
often does that
weeks, yeah.
magazine drop?
Once a month.
Well, yeah, but only the cool shit makes it online when it does drop.
Yeah, so it's like once a month, and then every like 3 to 4 months they do like a super version.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but every month, and like so this one is usually like all the Toku shows, and then they'll throw in Pokemon, what's going on with the anime and new toys for that. Ultraman gets thrown in there, and a few other stuff. I mean, it used to be like Yokai Watch when that was a thing, and everyone
Yeah.
loved it like I did. But yeah, no, so it's every month, and by the time it gets brought over here, because I get it through Book Off, I get it usually on like the 5th or the 6th of the month,
Mm.
if there's no shipping delays.
All of you think way harder than Toei would have ever thought at this stage. Well, welcome
Exactly.
to internet
Well, thank you.
speculation.
These
And we're
guys
thinking
Sometimes
as
the
far
internet
ahead.
thinks up better shit than what Toei ever cooks up or some of these shows
Mhm.
cook up. And hey, that's just the way you play the game. Hell, and a lot of my speculation that ages like milk in my week-to-week reviews, sometimes I'm just like, man, I wish it would have played out this way. I don't even want to get into talking about like the rewrites I would do to Revice in terms of like how that ended up, because that always becomes a like 2-3 hour conversation. But yeah, no.
And that's why I don't do theories in my videos too in depth, because Toei's not paying me for my good ideas.
There was that one guy that tweeted at Simon Bennett on Twitter saying, Mr. Simon Bennett, I'd like to discuss some ideas with you. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love it.
that
That's like
jerk.
every other day someone's like, hey, I got some ideas on how to fix the show. He's like, no.
Yeah. And someone asked, well, how do I discuss these ideas with you I want to use? And someone's like, work on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we can legally use your ideas.
Get the job in. That's the way
Yeah.
you.
It's like, oh, do you have no credibility for it? Then you're not going to work on the show.
There we go. There we go. So we have passed the 2-hour mark. Definitely a good discussion on really just discussing this central episodes and some of the thoughts and theories going forward. So in closing, like I would say that definitely the first episode was amazing in terms of a first episode, because even when it came to my rankings, I enjoyed this way more than the first episode of Dombros when I watched it. And y'all know how Dombros ended for me, like peak show. But in terms of how this show like started its run, phenomenal. I hope that they maintain the pace. But the biggest thing that I always have is for creatives, especially ones that this is their first outing, I don't want them to blow their creative load too early and just like fizzle out towards the middle. I hope that they actually have this entire plot point planned out, that they've got an outline set, and they know how to progress to each one with minimal rewrites leading into it. That's my biggest fear that I hope doesn't happen, because it really seems like they've got a good plot cooking here, and I want to see it through to the end. I'm excited to see how these next episodes progress, and as I let people know at the end of my review last week, I'm not going to instantly review episodes 2, 3, 4. I'm waiting until after episode 5, because typically the Sentai route of things is each following episode after the first one does move on to the next color, and then you build up the team from there. So I'm letting those episodes cook first before I put out a review after the fact, and then progress from there with weekly reviews. But in terms of how you felt about this episode and your optimism going forward for it, Ash, how do you feel when it comes to KingOhger?
I loved it. I'm going to keep watching it. I'll probably definitely review episode 2 moving forward. We'll see how I feel. If I fall off watching it, I fall off watching it, but we'll see if I get burnt out from watching it. But episode 1 left a really strong impression on me, and I was super worried going into KingOhger. KingOhger after coming off Don Brothers, because I was worried that Don Brothers had such a fantastic run and such a good ending. I was like, it's going to feel weird watching this new cast of characters, getting used to them again, and not missing Don Brothers too much. But like, I enjoyed this first episode, and it has my attention, and I can't wait to see where it's going to go next.
Yeah. Nexus, how do you feel about this first episode?
First episodes are always really good in Sentai, but this one particular, very good episode.
I
And
didn't like
can
Zenkaiger's first episode.
I can understand like why the people were excited of KingOhger, and please keep this consistency, and please keep this like excitement. And I also want to watch the second episode because I want to see the opening visuals as well. But I'm not a reviewer like you guys. I'm just watching it for fun, and as just someone who likes Toku in general. And I hope that they just keep this momentum, and I really, yeah, keep this momentum and surprise us. I want them to surprise us, because just like how they did in Dawn Brothers in areas that we totally didn't expect, I want them to keep on surprising it, and I hope they have already written their plot of where they're going for like the first 20 episodes, maybe not up to 30 yet, but maybe have the first half really good, and once you have all the setting, like everything set up, then you can like develop on those ideas. Just don't burn out. Like, I don't want it to be burnt out like so quickly, the quality. But yeah, looking forward to it as a viewer, so I'm very excited.
All right. And Mark, how did you feel about this first episode? I know typically you're not the Sentai guy.
I know.
So
Right? That's actually, I'm gonna make a shirt that says "not the Sentai guy," but like I really enjoyed it. Actually, like I'm going to review it. Like episode 2 will be reviewed, and 3 I'm gonna attempt to review the whole season, because I'm that hooked after the first episode where I'm like, you know what? About time I tried this whole watching it every week thing. I do think, to piggyback off what you said about like rewrites and this and that, I think because of the production level and this and that, they can't afford to make any last minute changes or anything they want to do with filming and writing, because there's a little like that setup isn't something like, oh, I didn't like the way that was. Set it up, let's get all the like they will lose money, and Toei likes money. So I don't think there's going to be, at least for like the first half of the show, I don't think we're going to see any real drastic changes to what they probably originally had planned. Maybe towards the latter half, they may be like, oh, let's change some stuff for like the finale or like towards the end and latter half. But I'm hooked. I didn't like the Don Brothers first episode. Zenkaiser, I liked the first episode because it really was the first time I watched a Super Sentai as it was airing and premiering. The CG kind of, but I gave them the asterisk because of what was going on at the time. But this one was the first time where I like watched the first episode, and I put up there with like when something new comes out on Netflix or that, where I'm like, oh, all right, this like there's so much world building and possibilities, and it just checks all these different boxes for me, where I'm like, this could be that season for me that like, Don Brothers was for a lot of people, or Rio Soldier or Lupat. Like this might be that season for me. That's like, okay, I could be the Super Sentai guy now. Like I'm hooked on this franchise.
Yeah, and I do feel like every Sentai season kind of lives within their own collective headspace for me. Like, I feel a lot of Sentais technically can end up living worlds apart, and that's fine. That's the variation that we get with Sentai, and that's why I can accept that something like Dombros can exist right adjacent to something as currently serious as KingOhger, because that's just how Sentai has been built for a while. Sometimes you get your serious seasons, sometimes you get your zany seasons, and that's just the commonality of it all. But for some other franchise, it's different when you start getting a theme that throws things into a different perspective or a different light. So that's the thing when it comes to Sentai. You kind of don't know what you're going to get when it comes to your mixed bag on there. But overall, I would say everything is looking very positive on here. We'll see once we start getting into like toy breakdowns down the line as the show progresses, if whether or not the ratings keep up compared to other seasons, in terms of if it changes or continues the upwards trajectory when it comes to toy sales comparative to Dombros and continues being that saving grace, or if things start to flounder, then we'll be here for those analytics and trying to break down those perspectives in terms how KingOhger just fares in terms of those aspects, because you can still have a really good season, but sometimes the financials just don't work well, and vice versa. It's like that with so many different levels of media. You can have a very good like cash cow, and then the show is terrible, or the other perspective. It's just how things go, and some people just look at the show by itself, but over here we like looking at different side of things, especially since we do come from the realm of collectors as well as avid viewers and connoisseurs of all things when it comes to Toku. So I hope that as this show progresses, you guys will continue watching and just getting our insights and thoughts, and hopefully we have some more guests that can also shine some better insights and thoughts going forward into the next year of superhero time. So in closing, Mark, where can people find you?
A nerd named Mark on all socials and YouTube. I do Toku stuff. I've been finally chipping away at my backlog of manga videos and reviews. One of my more recent ones, which Ash did as well, talking about Go-Go Loser Rangers, aka Ranger Rejects, which is getting an anime. Great if you like Super Sentai and you want a new perspective on that. Go check that manga out. But that's really, and I'm really looking forward to reviewing KingOhger every week, because anytime I've done Super Sentai videos, I always tell everyone, recommend Super Sentai to me, and I always get recommendations, which is why I'm watching Die Ranger right now, which is why I watched Lupat, because like I said, I have, by the time when I first started doing a lot of Toku stuff, I only seen like 1-2 seasons, and I'm like, hey, recommend stuff, and like, so I love getting recommendations, because like everyone has different tastes. So
Yeah.
being on the show, and me, you kind of get a glint into what Toku stuff appeals to me the most. Then a lot of people are like, oh, you liked this season of Kamen Rider, you would like this Super Sentai adjacent show. So I'm always open to recommendations, which is why that's my main goal by me doing Super Sentai stuff, is getting recommendations for older, so because there's a lot. And I only have so much hard drive space, even though I have every season on an external, but I don't know where to start. So
Go for it. I'm in the similar boat. Like my hard drive has so many seasons on there, some of which I haven't even touched, and I gotta get to it eventually. But
it's bad. That's why I'm tripping about a Kamen Rider. I have 2 seasons left to watch, and I've watched every season. And then I'm like, okay, I completed Kamen Rider.
There you go. Ash, where can people find you?
You can find me on all socials at Deoxy360. Recently, I posted my review of Go-Go Loser Ranger Volume 3. I also did a little quick video where, with the Power Rangers RPG, I don't know if you've seen it floating around, but Raptor from Q Ranger is now existing in the Power Rangers universe for some reason, but I talked about it in the video. But yeah, check me out on social media and stuff like that on YouTube. I'm going to be reviewing KingOhger and Gates as well, and reviewing the Power Ranger comics too. So be sure to check me out and everyone else on this panel.
All right, and Nexus. Since this is your first time here, I'm gonna let you go ahead and plug your stuff once again.
Yeah, it's great. It's such an honor to be here, like, and able to talk about this whole entire subject, even though I am not a very good talker and in a ways. But yeah, so you can find me on Smule, and as you guys have been requesting, I shall learn the KingOhger opening. It's going to take a while though because my Japanese is not that great, but I think it can manage since I learned to come alive from the live Eagle sound tracker. I have learned that song, so it will take me a while to like learn the KingOhger opening. But yes, you can
Got
find me
a
at
$5 super chat from Bird of the End saying, "You are the king. You are the king." That cut off. There it is. There it is. Okay. That cut off.
that was pretty good.
That "You Are the King" thing is gonna get stuck in my head. I feel like just like the weird referee whistle from Zenkaiser when the mechas, like certain things will get my it's gonna be stuck in my head.
But yes, Nexus, continue on. Sorry for cutting you off, but that's how sometimes super chats go.
Yeah, so you can find me on Nexus 1903 on Smule, and yeah, hope I can make some great music covers for you guys. If you guys will even listen, I'm not sure, but I'm still doing it just for fun. So I hope I can maybe be on the panel again, but we shall see as I am a seat filler. So if Zio does hook me up, I will see. But the problem is I am in a very weird time zone, and I don't want to tell you guys what time is it currently. But I'll see whether I can be here again if you guys do want me. So yeah.
We're going to introduce you to a great thing known as caffeine.
I
Right
was
here.
hoping someone was gonna say it's morphin time, but no one did. That's why I was just
No.
like, fine, I guess I won't say it.
Oh well, there it is. All right, and I typically don't promote myself, so I will just say in the description of this very live stream is a link to these two gentlemen's YouTube channels as well as Nexus's page to check out her music and covers on there. Also, most people don't even check to see the fact that I actually have a Discord server. It's always in the link on the description, and we typically hang out a lot on VC over there, just shooting the shit, having regular ass conversations,
I
talking
might
things outside of Toku, and sometimes just regular ass life stuff, and that's the way that it normally goes. So those links are always available there within the description. And outside of that, I will catch you all next week. So will most of these folks here, and we'll see you next time. Bye.